Good morning, everyone. For those of you who are not aware, my name is Mark Revolt, the chair of the LCC, and today we're going to have our monthly meeting as of August 17th. You notice that there's empty chairs. They'll be online with us. They have permission to do so, so we're set to go. And Laura.
Commissioner Kern. Here. Commissioner Doherty. And I do see him here. Back to him. Commissioner Floyd. Here. Commissioner Chapon Porter. Also on. Here. Commissioner Miletus.
Here.
Chair Revolt.
Here. Here. So thank you everyone for coming today. I really enjoy in-person meetings. I appreciate you. And we are here to serve you as well as the rest of the state of Oregon for what we do at the OLCC. If you have questions on how to do business with us, simply call us. That's what we do. We'll try to do our best to answer your questions. Or if you're unlucky enough to get one of us as commissioners, we will try to refer you to someone who can answer your questions. That's kind of our policy and procedure. And then we kind of back away because we muddy the water. All over the state of Oregon. Continue to call us. We want you to. We want to. So thank you. And with that, I think we need to have a motion to our orders and be approved in July 20th commission meeting.
Chair?
Yes.
I move to approve the July 20th, 2023 commission meeting minutes as written.
Thank you. Well,
Commissioner Kern.
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty.
yes.
Commissioner Floyd.
Yes.
Commissioner Chapon Porter.
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus.
Yes.
Chair Revolt.
Yes. Thank you. So we're going to have an update. Greg, do you want to introduce everybody?
Yeah, let's, thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's have Steve Robbins and Shannon Ryan come on in. And the new building update. So, I'm going to okay, Steve, if that's okay. So, with August 17th, I realized I haven't had a chance to introduce Steve Robbins, your new director of distilled spirits. And part of that is because he was hired on August 1, but I was already getting him involved before that. And so, Steve, thank you for being patient with me as I eagerly started to onboard you. And then Steve can talk a little bit about what he's done and learned in the first 16 days. But I want to take a step back for a second and introduce Steve, and also introduce something which I think we miss sometimes because of everything that's been going on. I asked one of our recruiters, how many staff have joined the OLCC since I started on February 15th? I don't know if you have a guess, but it's 41 last I checked. So a lot of times we focus on folks as they leave, but we've brought in 41 folks in the last 6 months or so. Steve is one of those folks in a key position as a director. Commissioner Miletus was on a hiring panel that Steve participated in. Steve's background is Steve grew up in Oregon. He went to Pacific Lutheran in Tacoma and the private sector. So one of the good things about having a distilled spirits director and being in the middle of that control state model is you want to have someone who actually knows how to run a business. I, for example, do not, because I've been a lawyer and a government lawyer really my whole career. So Steve has a background in transportation, in logistics and in retail. And he can tell you about a little bit about that if you want. And Steve, if you're willing to. Steve does not have an experience with distilled spirits. So wanted to make sure right away that we got him onboarded and learning this new industry for him. Steve does have experience, worked in the private sector for years, and then in 2009, 8 or 9, moved into the public sector. And Steve has been the chief financial officer for the Department of Corrections. He's worked, that's a $2 billion biennial budget for the Department of Corrections. He's been in charge of taking care of the health needs of folks in custody. And most recently, he's worked for the Legislative Fiscal Office. So if you think of our Legislative Fiscal Officer as Michelle Deister, some of you have either met Michelle or heard me talk about her. Steve has worked in that capacity at the Oregon Health Authority, And so really nice blend of having that public sector trust that understands how to keep the budgeting, for example, and presenting to the legislature where we are and answering those questions of really the representatives of our citizens. And he also has that private sector experience on how to run a logistics train in a warehouse. What I'm going to ask everyone here, including the commissioners and the folks here that are partners, is Steve needs to learn this industry. Steve will be solely focused on liquor and not cannabis. And so with that, I just wanted to introduce him to you all and let him say howdy and let him know how he spent his first 2 weeks. So Steve, go ahead, welcome.
Good morning, Chair of all members of the Commission, Executive Director Prinz. For the record, Steve Robbins. I'm the new Distilled Spirits Program Director for OLCC. And I'm excited to be here. I've been humbled by the incredible welcome I've gotten from folks here and just for all the work the agency's been doing through some pretty significant change here in recent history. So I won't go through all of it like Craig just did, but I do have about 14 years of experience with the state. As he mentioned, most recently with the legislature, with the Department of Corrections as a CFO there. And my private sector experience was in retail right out of college. I managed Mark's Hallmark stores and was a buyer for them. And then I moved into trucking and third-party logistics, where I worked for a company called Schneider Logistics, where we were working on contract for Ford Motor Company. And so I was a part of starting up their nationwide network of distribution centers for Ford. And then my role there culminated as a director of North American operations for them in Detroit, Michigan. I had an opportunity after being there to own my own business, come back to Oregon, and that's where I grew up. And so I came back here and had a property management company, as well as doing some big project management for multifamily housing here in the Pacific Northwest. And so had a chance to do that. I'm excited to be here, help the agency provide transparency, excellent service to agents, Oregonians, consumers, and all that while shepherding the warehouse move and some of the big IT projects that we've got coming up here. So I'm excited to be a part of all that. As a part of that, as Craig mentioned, I had a chance to better understand the liquor supply chain process by visiting Ohio's system and Virginia's with Jeff Samuels here, as well as the contingent from the Department of Administrative Services. And so, it was interesting to get their perspective, both on the transitions they made and the startup that they went through in those facilities. In Ohio, they run a very different kind of operation than we do in the warehouse. They pick to pallets. They don't have a conveyance system like we do here. And they've almost completely outsourced their warehouse to a third-party logistics company, DHL. And so that was very different than Virginia, which is much more like we are here. And their system is similar to our operation, and it does utilize a conveyance system as well. We learned we have a whole host, great list of things to consider as we move forward. I won't go through all of them with you, but I did want to call out a couple of them just because they were reoccurring themes we heard in both locations. The first and the loudest was around change management and the fact that we absolutely have to be engaging our folks internally and externally in what we're doing, be transparent about what's happening, involve them in helping to guide the decisions we're making as we move forward. We've also contracted with a company called Barry Dunn, who's assisting with us with that as we move through this. The other thing that was interesting as somebody that comes from transportation is how integrated both of those facilities were with their transportation network. They have single source contracts for dedicated carriers, and that's just different than the way we do it now here in Oregon. But it was interesting to see how integrated their carrier network was with their whole picking process and what happens in the warehouse, so that from end to end, their supply chain was very integrated in those states. Then we learned some very minor things, just like we're in a business of storing liquids. And when liquids break, you need lots of drains on the floor of new warehouses. And as well as just the fact that we've got picking modules potentially where people are going to be 2 or 3 levels up. And it takes a long time to walk from there all the way to a break room or to get water or anything in a 350,000 square foot warehouse. And so what can we do to help the folks that are in the warehouse with a better working experience and that's most efficient for us as well. So I'm learning as quickly as I can, meeting people as quickly as I can, and working with our contracted partners because we've got some deadlines and we want to have some timely implementation as we move forward here. So as much as I've attempted to become a complete expert on OLCC in 16 days, I'm not quite there yet, but with your help, I'll get there, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Steve. Commissioners? Great. Thank you.
We'll hold off putting you on the spot for you.
Well,
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
you too.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chair and Commissioners. I wanted to, so that's job one was to introduce Steve. Oh, go ahead.
Question.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Hey.
Good morning, Chair.
Hi there.
Hi. So I was listening to Mr. Robbins' resume and really feeling comforted by his experience reported. I was just wondering, has he engaged with the partners? And as I know that those partners seem to have a regard for that kind of a personal touch, and if that's on the docket for him.
Absolutely. Chair Wall, Commissioner, absolutely. My plan is to meet with anybody and everybody I can. I had a chance, I think it was my first week here, or maybe even before I officially started.
I think it's before your official.
I had a chance to attend the agent advisory meeting and get a chance to meet agents there. I'm absolutely planning to meet with even some of the folks in the lobby. I've had a chance to meet some of them as well. So I want to reach out to as many people as possible. I'm going out and meeting with some of our district managers and touring stores out in the state here in a couple of weeks. And then even on the change management piece, just engaging the folks here in the building. We're going to actually start having meetings tomorrow for the first time to meet with all the people that work in the warehouse that want to attend and get them up to speed on what's happening and what our plans are as we move forward and to start to get their input. So I really want to hit the ground running with that. And any suggestions that any of you have with people I should meet with, I'm more than happy to do that and look forward to it.
So you're saying that, thank you. You're saying that you're going to have ongoing meetings with staff at the agency there?
Yeah, Chair of all, Commissioner, absolutely. That we will have, this is the first of an ongoing series as we continue to keep them up to speed on what we're doing.
Thank you.
Commissioner? One of the things that Craig and I are talking, and that's how to do our job better. Some of that for me is I tend to, lose lips, sink ships. I need to get over that. And so please feel free to contact any of the commissioners at any time and keep us informed as to what you're doing and how we can help.
Absolutely will. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome, Steve. And then that was job one. Thanks, Laura. I missed Commissioner Ford. I apologize. I'll have to watch the board to see if there's any questions. So that was job one. Job two on this agenda item is a new building update. We normally have Jeff do that, and Jeff is not here with us, I don't think. But Jeff, I just want to give a shout out to Jeff Samuels. Jeff Samuels has done a phenomenal job of keeping this build on track, keeping you on track, me understanding what's going on in the midst of a lot, then helping us to then communicate that to the legislature so we can maintain our funding. So Jeff, I hope you're out there somewhere. I just want to say thank you for that and for your continued partnership, because that'll be absolutely necessary. The second thing I wanted to do was invite Shannon to talk about the warehouse, and specifically the build in Canby of the warehouse, and the decision to not build a headquarters in Canby. And so Shannon, I think, can give context to that. But I want to just hit a couple things, Shannon, before I hand it off to you. And I know you have a PowerPoint, but the way we folks in Oregon, who work for the state of Oregon, the way we work has changed pretty dramatically. If you go through this building anytime, you'll see that maybe half of the folks are not here. They're working remotely. And the plan to move the headquarters from here in Milwaukee, where it's been for decades, to Canby and build a new headquarters, that was all designed before the pandemic. And it wasn't really informed by how things changed more dramatically than anyone would realize in the pandemic. And as we started to work remotely, all of us in 2020, now we're in 2023, and we realize the work has changed so much, and the space we need has changed. And Governor Kotek has, I know Shannon has been integral because of her position to really planning and thinking with agencies. So what kind of space do you need now in 2023 if there's a big assumption, which is we're all going to work remotely way more, and we're going to continue to work remotely, and we need to learn how to do that more successfully. So that's one thing that's changed. And I would say the whole enterprise has embraced that change of working remotely. We found it to be very successful for many of the areas of business that we have. And then that specifically was those areas that are not usually who the licensees would come to. We're going to always have a presence for licensees who need to come to Portland, who need to come to Salem. We'll have that place. But for those who are working remotely quite a bit already, areas like the executive team, like Rosie, myself, other people that you interact with at the executive team, IT, which can do a lot of its work remotely, actually, HR, those teams, financial services, which is still moving from a lot of paper, but in 2 years, when we see this move happening, when this construction, when warehouse is done, we think a lot of that work can be done remotely. The policy folks, PACE, like Mark and TJ. So that's the challenge, is we're going to work differently when this construction's done. And so we also realized another thing that's changed is how much things cost from when we were working on this plan with the legislature. How much land costs has been well publicized. It cost more than we were hoping to. How much labor costs how much supplies cost. And that is expected. I have an earth-shattering news for everyone. That's expected to grow. It's not expected to stop. I've seen some of Shannon's team's projections. Costs are expected to continue to go up during the course of this bill. So we talked with Shannon, worked on it, and we really decided, when we try to make an estimate of how much the headquarters portion of that build would be, it was about $19 million. $19 million to build a space that really doesn't fit with the future needs of a remote workforce. And so rather than do that, we wanted to maximize the investment we could make in what Steve just talked about, the conveyance system, the warehouse, the space for the warehouse staff, and also be open-eyed that we're going to need to have some space for drop-in space for people, IT people who need to fix that conveyance system, hopefully not too much of that time, HR folks who need to onboard staff there, do things like I-9s and some of the forms that need to be done. So we really looked at that, and Shannon can speak to this, but this is something that all the agencies are doing. They're all looking at their space that they have now or the space that they're looking at building, and they're working with the enterprise asset team to figure out what really is needed. So that is, we're already planning to move the warehouse to Canby in 25. Now we're planning to move the warehouse to Canby in 25 and have a headquarters in Salem where we can take advantage of some of that unused space in Salem. But all of this is, and I would think if I was a commissioner, wait, where am I going to be driving to in 2025? I think all of that is, we're going to be working remotely more. So I know a lot of agencies do a mix of in-person and remote for commission meetings. The goal of all of this is to make this system function well, and find out and plan for how we do that with the change management folks that we've got. So I'll hand it off to Shannon. I just wanted to give you a bit of that backdrop, and she can get into the details of how the whole enterprise is working through some of these issues. Shannon.
Great. Thank you. Well, good morning, Chair Hall and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Shannon Ryan. I am the administrator for the Enterprise Asset Management Division for the Department of Administrative Services. And thank you for having me here this morning.
Well, thanks for coming. One of the things that, my company has multiple offices in Portland and Eugene, and I never see the Eugene office anymore. And depending on what happened in the curves, I don't see the Portland office either.
Right.
So our company has gone through the issue of remote. My assistants are all remote.
Yeah.
We have beautiful offices that no one goes to. So when I first learned of the shortfall, and being a business person who we build out our office space, the idea of covering that $20 million, I'll just round it up, was very exciting for me. For those of you who don't know, I don't know how to build a $200 million operation building. Don't know how to do it, but I know that Shannon does, her team does. So the idea of bringing on this organization, this team, makes a lot of sense. And by the way, 9 years ago, I'm still trying to get us to stop using paper for finance. Okay, just let me throw that out there. Still working on that one.
Well, it's a legacy of trying to be customer friendly and trying to get the big investment that you all got, and I can't take credit for, with the legislature to do that. We don't want to lose that investment. Right. It's a critical investment in modernizing these systems. And the fact that you all were able to maintain that through 2020, 2021, 2022 shows you have buy-in for that same thing, Chair, that everyone wants to modernize this. It's going to be hard. Some of us like to do our paper checks. Some of us like to do fax. I'm kind of, I have to challenge myself with this, how remote I can be. So you have buy-in from your partners at the legislature, and Shannon can talk about how everyone's looking into this.
So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're part of the team. It was great having you in Florida
Thank
to
you.
talk with other states that they were way over our head. The minute you stepped up, it's kind of like, oh, she knows everything. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I was making it up on the fly. Thank you for supporting me. Okay, so as Director Prince talked about, where we the state of Oregon, the enterprise is at a pivotal juncture with our workforce and our real estate portfolio specifically. There are other ramifications, but we're just going to be talking really about workforce and real estate footprint today. We are not alone in that. I think that it's safe to say that the rest of the world is grappling with the same conundrum, and there's really because this is also new and it happens so fast, relatively fast. There's really no rubric out there to help in planning and think through. So everybody's kind of trying to figure out what makes sense for them, and comparing notes with others. So the Department of Administrative Services is tasked with figuring this out for the enterprise, and it being, what space do we need? What kind of space do we need? How many buildings do we need? All the things around, portfolio planning. And that starts with the person, that starts with the employee, that starts at the program level, and it works out from there, which is really a monstrous task. But there are a couple other states that we've really been collaborating with, Colorado and California, and kind of sharing notes and best practices, because we're just starting down this road thinking, okay, we're probably not going to get this right out of the gate, but let's just keep being flexible and learning and whatnot. So the overarching goal for us is absolutely to reduce our footprint. And I'm not gonna. I'll get into that in the presentation, but I really want to echo Director Prince's words of how this decision to move the headquarters to Salem, to our vast unutilized space, is in complete alignment with the directive the governor has given us and with enterprise-wide initiatives. So it brings it right back into the fold as a helpful contributor, right, in helping solve this large problem. So it's a long preamble. So what I'd like to talk about today is give you a snapshot of what the state's real estate footprint looks like in both portfolios. Just touch briefly on industry conditions, and then our enterprise kind of post-pandemic strategy, and some projects we have actually going on right now that reflect those goals. Okay, so here is the enterprise-wide footprint. So we've got 8 million square feet statewide. 88% of that is office. So that percentage also reflects things like crime labs and other laboratories and other specialty buildings, but the bulk of that is absolutely office space. I also want to call out, this excludes any land, rangeland, prisons, and parks. So this is just commercial space. So my agency owns about 24% of that inventory. And then another 9% is owned by other landowning agencies who have their own headquarter buildings as well. But the vast majority of our overall footprint is 5.5 million square feet in the private sector portfolio. So this is where agencies are leasing from landlords all over the state to carry out their missions. They are not in the state-owned building. As you all know, that's a fluid portfolio, right, over time. And that will absolutely be the key. That portfolio to right sizing the overall, the aggregate footprint, right? Because that's the one that is fluid. So focusing in on 67% from the last slide, this breaks down that portfolio. The overwhelming majority of our leasehold interests are in fact in the Salem metro area. That's going to be about 3.9 million square feet in Salem alone. And in the next, it's hard to see with the little box, but in the corresponding box, the Salem area leasing expired the next, thank you. I feel like I can't read the numbers more. In the next 2 years, about 80% of those Salem area leases are going to be expiring. So it's hard to say what's going to exactly become of all of that's a lot of space and a lot of leases to expire. Most of our leases do carry a provision to carry over or extend for a short period of time. I have an inkling that that's probably what we'll see happen because it wasn't until just very recently, like within the last month, that our executive leadership let us know that the governor is supportive of the hybrid workforce, that modality, and we should assume that it is permanent and please start planning accordingly. So it's been interesting. We know, next slide, please. Let's kind of get to it. Oh, actually, I'll touch on the industry conditions before I go off on another tangent. So we've got all of this empty space coming up for a lease roll. And then when we look at the Salem area vacancy rate, right now it's 6.7%. That 3-month projection to 10%, that is our projection based solely on the leases that we are getting out of. So that's 3 leases that the state is going to let expire, which really impacts that 10%. So if you think back to all the other leases that are going to expire soon, we can expect that the Salem vacancy rate to continue to increase. Also, on the construction side of the equation, we're also in an environment of increases over the last 4 years. The construction industry, and this is for the Pacific Northwest specifically, has increased 23% over the last 4 years. And the next 2 years, it is forecasted to continue another 12% increase. Thank you. So that's a snapshot of what our real estate portfolio looks like. And as I mentioned, the key to start figuring this out is look at your workforce and who's where and how often. So we took a survey of our Workday platform, which is our basically it's our HR information system. And it captures the entirety of the executive branch, so all 41,000 employees. And we found as of April of this year, about 45% of them were working in some fashion of remote work. So maybe they're full-time remote or come into the office occasionally, or they're out of state and are never even in the state. So we've got a really wide array of work modalities and people really all over the place. In fact, we have people in 43 different states right now, which is interesting. So we can also assume of that 45%, all of those folks were more than likely office workers before the pandemic. So you can assume that for the most part, those accountants, those IT folk, those whatever who had an assigned space in a building somewhere are never there anymore. Next slide, please. So we know that our buildings and our leased spaces are just grossly underutilized at this point. And so, like I mentioned just moments ago, the executive leadership said, yes, this is here to stay. start planning on it. So my agency just launched a survey to the enterprise. So all 102 agencies to start getting our arms around what is our vacancy rate? How are people utilizing their space? Do they know? And also to get agencies to start thinking about it, because every single agency is going to have to do this work of thinking about their programs and their people, their new business model, service delivery, what have you. Really focusing in on focus on your business, and then we'll figure out the real estate solution behind it. This effort is the first of an ongoing series of efforts on the part of my agency to just get a baseline read of what things look like out there. So this survey was just launched last Friday. We already have 34 responses, and you can see for yourselves, this is agencies self-reporting in their own space. So it's really pretty, it's astounding, but yet it's not surprising, because you go through any one of our buildings, any one of our lease spaces, and they all feel like just ghost towns, right? And this data supports that for sure. Thank you. So, like I said, the survey is step one in a repositioning effort that's going to be, honestly, it's going to take 5 to 7 years to fully reposition all of the state's office space and buildings, just given the flow of the leasehold portfolio. But Governor Kotek asked us earlier in the year, hey, what's your plan? And, again, there's no rubric, as I mentioned before. And so what we wanted to articulate is our future state. And this is where we get to, at the end of the day, there are so many steps to go through between now and getting to that future state. But these are absolutely the goals that we offered for consideration, and the outcomes, the corresponding outcomes. And really taking this opportunity to, which is super exciting, at least I think it's exciting, is to figure out how else we can be using our buildings and our access real estate for greater good, for communal benefits, which will mean different things in different communities. But we know that we're going to have more space than we know what to do with, even after we right size. So it's really an opportunity to rethink the whole thing from start to finish. How do we be better stewards of tax dollars? How do we get better service delivery to Oregonians? And what else can we do? What else can we do? Can we house a daycare? Can we house a warming shelter? How can we help in the communities where we are? So this was offered up, and it was accepted by the governor's office as the overarching strategy for the enterprise to pursue. So I've also, like, all this work is kind of at the very beginning, right? We are going to have like new programming guidelines, new space utilization, ways for agencies to think about their space so they can start to right size, which is we will work with OLCC in doing that very same exercise, like really examining the workforce. What do you really need, and what do you need that focuses in on the health and well-being of your folks, what is good for your business, and really all of those considerations. So we're teeing that up, and all the agencies are thinking about it, but there are a couple agencies that kind of took off out of the gate early, which is awesome, and started to pursue their own projects. So next slide, please. And I'll start with the Department of Justice. This was a fortuitous event that we leveraged to get them to think about, hey, how about if you consolidate? Because we had an unexpected water feature in one of our buildings and they had to move out. So it was a great time to re-examine what it is that they do, where do they work, who are their folks. And there's a lot of detail on the slide from our architects, but this project, they will collapse a few leases and consolidate into one building. that will save them $4.2 million per budget cycle, which is pretty compelling. It also availed some space for DHS elsewhere in the building, and they got to eliminate 2 private leases. So this is demonstrative, I think, of how this exercise is going to go. It's going to be a series of dominoes as all the moving parts and pieces kind of come together. And then next slide, please. This just gives you a little snapshot of what the kinds of spaces that we're thinking about to support that hybrid workforce, different employee needs and different business needs. So it's just you can go back and look at it if you're really interested, but it's just highlights how we're thinking about space and rethinking about space. Next slide, please. So interestingly enough, we started this project prior to the pandemic. We purchased this building in 2019 with the sole intent of integrating statewide laboratories, building statewide laboratories into it. And we coined this the One State Project. And One State is really a concept that focuses in around shared resources, cross-agency collaboration, and the actual physical sharing of space without walls and whatnot. So it's really kind of a communal approach for these agencies that all share a synergy, right? They all need laboratories. They are all scientists for the most part. So actually OLCC is part of this project as well via the Department of Agriculture. We are about done with this project, and it's really going to be kind of our test case to see how it goes when you throw everybody into just one big lab and just hope everybody gets along and figures out how to, play together, if you will, in the sandbox. We too have engaged a lot of change management. To Steve's point, it is hugely important in these really, tectonic moves of sorts, and certainly when you're culturally pivoting. So this is a great example. It's almost done. And then the next one, please.
How many people would be expected to be housed here together?
There will be 175, I believe.
Okay, 175 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's most of the building is huge laboratories. Okay. Yeah, and then there's an office component, which is also huge. It was a former Microsoft building, so yeah. I think there's another image of it. And then next slide, please. And then this one is another case where an agency decided just pretty recently, just this last spring, that they just had straight up too much space and needed to downsize. And so this was the Department of Transportation and one of their lease spaces in Salem. And we didn't have anybody. They reached out to us. We didn't have any state agency looking for more space because everybody's got more than they know what to do with. So we connected them with Salem Kaiser Public Schools, and it turned out to be a win-win for everybody. And ODOT is saving just a tremendous amount of money. So I think we're going to be seeing more and more of these downsizing, subleasing, let things expire, consolidate with other agencies into a building. Like I said, it's going to be a series of just ongoing domino pieces, and OLCC will be part of that row of dominoes that happens to hopefully make everything come together and fit together and get OLCC certainly the optimal space and location that it needs for its business and its employees and the public.
Yes, I hope you took a lot of notes, so who wants to go first?
You kick it off. This was great. Yeah, I mean, it's in terms of lease versus own, how much, and this, I think we had heard the number 2.5 million, how much of that is leased versus owned? Do you know, or is that's probably something I might have to look up?
5.5 million is leased.
5.5 million is leased out of what firm? Out of 8 million. Okay. And when those leases all expire at various times, I mean, what's kind of maybe the average term? Like how when do most of those come up for expiration?
It's an ongoing role. There's 650 of them, but you can assume that most of them are going to be expiring in the next, call it the next 6 or 7 years. That's why I was saying it's probably going to take 5 to 7-ish years to fully reposition and right size.
Yeah, no, it's most of my notes and thoughts were just on specific to OLCC. I mean, I think it's, you mentioned that most of that project, when it was anticipated pre-pandemic. So much change.
Yeah,
I think it's, and I know there's been, it's tough whenever there's a change in direction, but I really think it's good. I mean, the core function of that facility, in my mind, was always that it was with a mind around the logistics and distribution of distilled spirits. In some sense, I almost think that it's good that we're carving off that piece and kind of having it as its own thing. And this is either not necessarily just related to this, but I do think that having the distinction, having that distilled spirits really in the most optimal place that we could get it at the time for distribution of that sort is a good thing. And I think it also it speaks to, obviously there's a dramatic change in the real estate market. It in some sense helps and gives more nimbleness to what we can do, because it sounds like we're going to be leasing space down in Salem, but we've always had substations. We've got substation up here. We've got substation Medford, Salem. There's some nimbleness, and I know the governor's been a proponent of some of the downtown efforts and trying to see that having office space maybe down there might be a good thing. I don't know. I mean, it's just an idea having, so we could be as folks could be closer. We could maybe get some vibrancy back to the Portland area. Get some people down there. Just a thought, but this is. I think we're making the right moves, tough decisions, and evolving times. So thank you, and I'm grateful that you guys were able to get out to the other control states and see those systems, because it's we're going to learn a lot from them. But we've always done things, sort of our own way here, and I think that'll continue, and we'll keep the good things and keep chugging along. So great work. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Commissioner Melitas, and I absolutely echo your comment. I think that the OLCC is doing its part in revitalizing the downtown. If we pick a downtown area, it speaks to reducing your carbon footprint. It speaks to, it just checks so many boxes. And at the rate that vacancy rate's going, I think there will be a lot of choices, right? And then vacancy rate goes up, and there's an inverse relationship to the rate. So it could be a win-win-win.
We don't got to build $20 million worth of space when there's plenty of space we can get for that. So I think that's a smart fucking build. But I stand by firmly the fact that where we put the logistics center for the distribution of distilled spirits, that was a wise choice, and it's a wise choice to carve out $20 million from the budget we got too. So great work.
And I'd also like to echo.
No questions here, just a comment. I think that it's incredibly smart. It makes sense. The world has changed as we know it. We all know this, and it's important that we change along with it. So no questions. Smart.
Yeah, I mean, my note here was that I took you. I really like this, and we're going to plan accordingly. And I think we're in a very fluid situation right now.
Yes.
And you don't know the extent of which, I think people, when COVID happened, they thought, well, and then the leases empty, that people would be coming back. Yeah. And I think that we're still thinking things are still changing, and we're still trying to adapt to it. And so we're still in a fluid situation where we are constantly changing, and I think downsizing and trying to reduce our footprint. So I really like the planning that's going into that. That's what this looks like. And I think taxpayers should be really happy to hear that the government is forward thinking on this. So thank you. for the information today. Thank you very much.
Ms. Fay?
Thank you very much. I concur. I'm always for streamlining and making the best use of saving money for the state. Thank you. I would like to, since it's close to home, I'd love to visit that old Microsoft outfit.
Absolutely. Reach out anytime. We'll be open officially in October. It won't be a construction site anymore, so I'd be happy to take you through then.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. It's brought some some real clarity and logic to what you're doing. So I'm very impressed by your work and as well as by your presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Brody.
That's my vision. One, I'm really happy with the governor's office looking at those rural areas who could be affected more so than the I-5 corridor.
Yeah.
To keep that in mind is important. That's great to know that we're thinking outside of the I-5 corridor.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're very sensitive to the rural communities and even just the smaller communities that, that's not a Portland or a Salem. I've seen in my time at my agency, some hasty decisions when, somebody pulled out of a Burns and, it was nothing to us. It was like 2 people. But it was an extremely big deal to Burns. And I ended up working with the judge out there, the county commissioner. They were very, very upset, and we found a way to make them whole with a different asset that we had out there, and we shared it with them and our fiber optic in it to help them in a different way, right? But it was like, that was, I think, one of my first object lessons when I first came to the state like 12 years ago. Like, wow, that is, we need to be very mindful and very respectful of, what our presence means in some communities. And so I've always held on to that. And we will absolutely adhere to that going forward. We're actually talking about, we're floating the idea. Agencies are kind of contemplating it right now to see if there's an appetite for it. But like the notion of like an all agency drop-in space regionally around the state. And, the paradigm would be we invest, but in partnership with that community and make sure that we are helping them in some way. Maybe it's a part-time community center or whatever else that they need. Any way that we can like partner with those communities to, one, support our employees where they are, and to, invest our money so it's not our money, it's their money, right? And bring something to their community too. So that's like 4 or 5 iterations down the road in this restack, but it's certainly a guiding principle and part of our ethos.
Yeah. Great. Just I wanted to, if I could just close on that. Employees, one thing hasn't changed. Employees of the OLCC are our greatest asset. I think we can all agree with that. And you can see too that it's not just OLCC, it's the enterprise is figuring out how to do this. And we have to work together, not in silos. I mean, a lot of these are different things. When you look at that lab that's going to have a state police crime lab, it's going to have our hemp testing, it's going to have all of that in one place. This is new for us. And so we want to balance our greatest asset with this public, the stewardship of public dollars that you all have said. And what I've asked our staff is, one, I was transparent with them, presented this reality to them, I think a couple weeks ago or so, and then said, the mindset has to be not change is hard, but change is hard for people who aren't ready to change. and we've got time to get ready for change. And that's why we wanted to start now. So for those of you who are like, why are they talking about something that's in summer of 25? Well, it's because we want to work together to make this work for everyone. And a big part of that is going to be something that I'm not always very good at, I'm told by my wife and daughters, which is listening. I'm more of a talker than a listener. I don't know if you have any of those in your families. So we have Barry Dunn is working with us on change management. And we're going to work to listen to our staff and figure out how to do this well. And we want to start planning now for that so that we can do that balance well. Thank you. And with that, I think then we just back to an update from Alan, I think is the next item on the agenda. So
Say we have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Edie Prinz. Have you been able to receive any feedback from staff? And if so, are you able to share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things. Presented this at an all of staff meeting, and we started getting feedback right away on the chat. So started to look at that. Some of the main feedback was, what is the definition of remote? What is the definition of hybrid? Because some of those things are changing in a policy that's just rolling out. So it's kind of that, where do I fit into this? We have the change management group that we're already working with Barry Dunn. They've set up an email so people can email them with their thoughts, ideas, concerns, and do one-on-ones with them. We're also trying to listen to folks saying exactly what I think has been, what about downtown Salem? What about downtown Portland? What's available in these different places? And then one of the awesome things is our staff also started to immediately think about the partners. Hey, wait a second, licensees need a place to come in Portland. They can't be driving down to Salem. So maintaining our places where we have a place for licensees. Then right away, an issue came up, which is Salem is considering a tax on workers, and I think my understanding that is up for a vote of the citizens already. So that came up right away. How does that fit? What would that mean if we were moving our HQ there? And then one of the things that I think made it into one of the stories that was actually done in this is, okay, free parking for licensees, partners, and staff is always going to be a high priority. And that, because people are going to have time, say there's a commission meeting they need to come to, say there's a planning meeting they need to come to in person. So we talked about parking. Hey, it's the bottom line. It's like some days if I have to come there, I need a place to park. And in some areas of Salem, that costs money every month for employees. So, it's just that mix of all kinds of different things. Who's this impact? What is, you keep using the word remote or hybrid. Give me a definition of those words. What about our staff's parking? What about the pace of change? I think there's also that question of, we have the Opto project, for example, some of these moves to less paper. We need to do this in mind with our change management. And so, and then also there was, questions, could we just keep this property? Could we keep this Milwaukee property? But this Milwaukee property is very valuable. And I don't think that's a possibility, but we certainly are, the state owns this property. So it's not like there's a landlord that's going to say, you got to get out on this date. But I know Shannon has to balance that, all of those things too, as part of the overall enterprise. So those were some of the things that came up. Commissioner Porter, excuse me.
Thank you. And by the way,
Would be resolutions, especially as it speaks to the parking, which I know is a concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, the resolutions are we're going to have several months to work on this. I can tell you that Jeff Samuels is not here, but he has the survey. He's already looking at areas that would be suitable. I don't know if Shannon wants to speak to that. Shannon's our partner to look at where is suitable, what could we do. We have the needs of our commissioners in our office. I don't know if Shannon, you want to speak to that.
Yeah, sure. So one of the folks on our real estate team has assembled kind of a sampling, if you will, of what's available right now in Salem. And she organized a tour and what's available, and that was per OLCC specs in terms of square footage and other attributes like secure parking and so on and so forth. So these are not random places. They are targeted places that could conceivably work in myriad places throughout Salem. That's what he's doing right now, unless he's done and back. So this was, I would call it just a recon mission, and just kind of get to know the lay of the land in the different areas to really get a sense of where might the best place be. And as for the commission space, regardless of where OLCC lands, be it in one of our buildings or not, there are 3 or 4 already built commission rooms throughout Salem. So 2 of them are in our portfolio. 3 of them are in our portfolio. And then one of them is at ODF and W. The Fish and Wildlife has a really large commission room as well. So I am confident that we'll be able to make arrangements with one of our partner agencies for OLCC, because all these commissions meet once a month, right? So you will all have a very nice space, regardless of where OLC. If it's in OLCC space, great, but we don't necessarily need to replicate it.
We may need that. We've been told that we're going to get bigger.
I heard.
That's the word on the street is. So
That's the word.
we'll need a big spot on that.
Yeah.
And we've been working on this. So, 5 years ago, I had a great idea as a business person. We'll just sell this spot and put it in the bank. And then I was informed that we didn't own the spot. The state owns the spot. And so I couldn't do that. So it's all in your hands now. Appreciate that.
I'm just the broker for good. That's all I do.
Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're going to move on. We have a district of upstate Allen. Welcome.
Morning. Hall, members of the commission, and of course, Director Prinz. For the record, my name is Alan Rowe, interim distribution and purchasing director. I've got some July data here for you on the PowerPoint. Overall case volume handled, which is a combination of the cases received and cases shipped, 648,158 cases, actually down 4.65% from 22. Overall cases shipped out the door was 322 and 67, an average of 15,300 per day in the 21 operating days that we had in July. And that is actually down 1.76 from 2022. Overall cases shipped, we're looking at a down 2.27% from the same time frame. The overall totals on the right-hand side from 22. Let's see, down towards the bottom, you've got the total inventory value. You've got the OLCC owned and bailment inventory in the warehouse is down 2.47% over 2022. And however, on the store side and the retail side, that's actually up 9.62%. I think a lot of what we're seeing here is we're keeping a tighter rein on how much we're allowing the vendors and suppliers to keep in the warehouse. We used to let them keep a good, 10 months or so of inventory, and now we're trying to keep them much tighter down to a, good 6 weeks, 5 week supply of inventory before we allow them to send more shipments of replenishment supply, just because we're dealing with the space issues. And of course, on the next slide, you'll see the warehouse space is still a major issue. I was just charged from the information I was reading off from the previous chart, talking about your case volumes in and out and totals, and then the running shipments, 22 compared to 23 on the right-hand side. I think currently on space, our volume is at a point where the warehouse is 94% at capacity. That's actually down from where we were a couple of months ago. Earlier this year, we were at 102% capacity. So we're getting very creative in our storage and pick locations in the warehouse. Of course, we're trying to get this number down as best we can because we've got holiday products going to be rolling in probably next month. Holiday survey just came back from retail, and the orders have been placed, and vendors will be sending their Christmas items sometime next month, and we'll be shipping them in September, probably. And just for general information, the top 10 selling items out the door for July. That speaks for themselves there, the platinum. I think the platinum had it was on sale, but it's a very popular product anyways. And then of course the Tito's. Can't keep the Tito's in the building. Other July, I'm sorry, is there any questions on the production values, numbers?
Did you say, Alan, sorry.
Yeah.
Did you say that some stores would have about 10 months of inventory, and now we're only allowing 5 to 6 weeks?
The suppliers.
Suppliers.
Suppliers sending their inventory to the warehouse. Some of them would just keep pumping material as, and we were just a holding house for them.
Sure.
And now we're trying to tighten those reins a little bit, and just it needs to be the production levels that we can maintain for warnings at this time.
Chairman?
Yeah.
And what is the feedback from those that were cutting down to 5 or 6 weeks? Thanks for your question, Chairman. Very curious about this.
We've received no negative pushback on that whatsoever. Everybody was very eager and willing to work with us. We even had some suppliers, some of the vendors actually took some of their products back. We found we had a very, very large, month's supply of certain items, and they were willing to actually send trucks out here and take some of it back to their own warehouses. So that's gone very well. Our partners are great to work with.
Thank you. Thank you.
Some other information, just July topics of note. The warehouse, as usual, is still struggling with absenteeism. Looks like we had an average of 23.6% absenteeism rates for the 63 employees in the month of July. I mentioned this a little bit on the last meeting, only because it was happening at the moment I was speaking. But we did suffer a massive loss of one of our outbound carriers, Red Away Yellow. You probably heard about this in the headlines. They went on strike and then went completely out of business. So that affected 41 of our stores. Red Away was their carrier. I'd like to give a huge compliment to Paul Herbert, our scheduler, and Era Huddleston, our freight coordinator. They scrambled, feet on the ground running, and we were able to find carriers for those 41 stores fairly quickly. A lot of our other carriers really stepped up, took the extra load on. Some of them saw it as a business growth opportunity. So I think, actually, as of a couple of days ago, I think we actually had the last store covered. So we now have permanent full-time carriers for all of the stores. During that time, some of the stores did receive their orders on sort of maybe an off day or an off time than what they're normally used to, but we didn't miss a beat. We did not miss an order. No orders were canceled during that time. Let's see, currently, in July, the warehouse has 4 vacancies. Currently 2 of those are filled, so we're still working on 2 of them. We're struggling with the recruitment of temps. We usually, this time of year, we usually have 10 to 20 temps in the building, an average about 15 this time of year, and that's to carry us through the holiday season. So we're about to get really busy. And we've got 6 right now between the 2 shifts. So that's also making a bit of a struggle for our production. And I'm sure maybe you've heard about some repacks that have gotten canceled from time to time.
Chair,
Yes.
Ellen, how do you recruit? Where do you post this?
We actually have an ongoing, constant posting. It's a process that HR and I developed a few years back. So rapid hire is what we call it. We put it out. It's just a constant open recruitment. You can go online any day, and it's just there. It's open. If you apply this week, you're invited to an interview next week. We hold interviews literally every Friday for temps in just an open window slot. And they come between noon and 3, and we give interviews.
Can you repeat that so people know that if you want to have do business with us?
Yes, if anyone knows anyone looking for some work, we hold open recruitments every Friday. Go online, OregonJobs.com, and apply for the warehouse temp positions. And you'll be guaranteed you'll be invited to an interview.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Rowe, you seem to be killing it time after time with all the constraints that you're under. So thank you so much. So I'm not a social media person, but is that an option? Some of these social media platforms for help?
That's actually something that HR has been looking into. Not only social media, but posting directly at like a lot of colleges. I know we have some program up at Clackamas Community College. At least we did for a while. I think that's going to get revisited as well. As for the social media, I think we're working on a solution towards that medium. Nothing as of yet. Sorry.
I've seen them on LinkedIn. Because I'm about as social as I get. It's on the business side of it. But it says we're hiring. And I do a like every time.
Should I expect you next Friday?
No.
Good to know. Let's see. After and thank you for the compliment, Commissioner. And of course, I just want you all to know that it's not all bad news. It's not all struggles and turmoil. Throughout all this, it's still business as usual out in the warehouse, liquor in, liquor out. We did have a crash early in July, right after the holiday, right after the 4th of July, of our system where we were unable to receive orders from the stores for about a day and a half. But our IT team, our support, was able to fix that fairly quickly. And again, we didn't miss any orders. We got them all out. We're up and running like normal. And for those employees that, do show up on a daily basis, it's a very hardworking, dedicated crew. It's hard physical labor, and 100-degree heat outside does not help. But they're here every day, and they're making sure the product gets out the door, making sure the job gets done. So it's not me; it's my crew. So I give full credit to them. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioners?
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Retail services, I believe. Where we are. Paul?
Morning, Chair. Commissioners. For the record, I'm Paul Rosenau, currently serving as the Retail Services Director, and I'm before you today with a number of applicants being considered for appointment to 4 different stores. And I think the majority of this room here is waiting to talk to you. So with that, we're going to start off with store 1034 La Pine and James Elliott. Mr. Elliott's been operating the La Pine store since September of last year. And prior to that, he was a store manager starting in November of 2015 until he took over as the temporary agent. He meets the qualifications, and he's done a successful job according to Retail Services.
So we recommend that he be appointed the permanent agent under spouse-child appointment. And I know James has some pretty good plans for what he intends to do with the store and where it's going to move to, and I'll let him talk about that a little bit. Great. And do we have a timekeeper?
Yes, we do. Oh, no.
That's in front of the plane.
Oh, okay.
No.
I've made it right with their phones away, so
I'll be quick.
in the back room, so.
So I currently reside in about a 1,200 square foot building. It's been there since the 70s. And I'm currently in the process of building a 2,500 square foot building. So it'll be over double the size, bringing in beer and wine. And it'll be right next to my current business that I currently own also. So I'm looking forward to bringing in a lot more alcohol and showing a lot more liquor in my area.
And I'll say Retail Services has looked at the elevations for this new building, and it's pretty impressive. So we do recommend that he be appointed permanent under the spouse-child.
So normally we adjourn, go to the back room, chat about the different providers. Are we able to act on this without deliberating?
No.
I love it when she's like, do it. Can I have a motion, please?
Chair,
Yes.
I move to appoint James Elliott as a permanent agent at store 1034 Lapine effective August 1st, 2023.
Laura?
Commissioner Curran,
Yeah.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yes,
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Chair Reval.
Yes. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll consider store 1092 Baker City. And we have two applicants for the store. Both applicants are here to present. We'll start with Jackson Bevco being represented by Andrea Jackson. Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey?
Yes.
We're going to give you 7 minutes.
Okay.
And I'll give you about a minute ahead of time warning. Is that okay? Okay.
Thank you. So my name is Andrea Jackson. I'm president of Jackson Bevco. We're based in Boise, Idaho. I'm really excited to be here. This is a super opportunity for our company, and we would love to be a retail sales agent for Baker City. On the next page, if I could, I'm not going to read it to you. I just want to point out a couple of things. My business has been in business. We've been in business for 30 years, 20 years in Oregon. We have a store in LeGrand, also Hermiston and Pendleton under our Big Smoke name. And we've been very successful in those towns, and Baker City would be perfect for us. We have all the relationships with our vendors we need already established. I have my management team drives right by Baker every week, several times, so it would be awesome for us. One number 3, I think, is of interest to you is that we do have 64 stores in 4 states, but one of them particularly, I'll show a picture in a minute, is in Weiser, Idaho. It's the same relationship we have with the state of Idaho as we're asking for here. And so in Idaho, they renew annually. They're licensed only for a year, and we've been renewed every 8 years, or 8 years, ever since we started with them. We took over a sad little gas station in Weiser and built a new site for them, and it turned out really well. And I think they're happy with us. We're really happy with them. And then just briefly at number 7, I made my whole career in age-restricted retail sales environment. That's all I've done. I'm heavily involved with our industry at a national level and local level, and feel really proud about the relationships we have with the regulatory boards that check us for compliance and those kind of things. So number 2, page 2, we take our responsibility to prevent sales to minors
like our business depends on it, because it does. We're very, we spend a lot of money on it. We have great equipment, great systems, great training. We pay bars, a company, to check us every month, every store. And, we take it seriously. Number 2 on this page, I'm really proud of, is we have an excellent track record with our government compliance partners. 2023, 100% compliance on alcohol this year so far, and 96% on tobacco. So we're proud of those numbers. If you should choose us to be the sales agent in Vegas City, we will take good care of your inventory. We spend a lot of money on alarms, our alarm systems, and panic buttons in case of robbery. We have safes. We have an excellent EPOS system. Alerts our sales agents to drop their cash. I think one thing that we bring to the table is that we have an internal audit team. We count every store every month, and we count, receive, and sell by SKU. So if we were missing an item, we would be able to tell you we're not missing just $100 worth of liquor this quarter. We're missing 2 bottles of Tito's or whatever. We would know what it was and drill down and figure out what's the problem and fix that. Additionally, I think the most important thing maybe that we do is that we have great employees and we invest in them. I think if you have employees that are trained well and are supported and compensated, they're going to get great service that results in great sales and profitability too. And we do have those programs for our folks. Page 3, what we do at Baker City, if we were chosen, I'm very excited about it. We want to spend some money there. I think that the building is fine. It's not ideal, but it's okay. But it's very dated. So on page 3, we want to change out signage, counters, cabinets, a new EPOS system, new shelving, repaint, take the carpet out, add some, or the back room. I think lottery should be added to this business. It's a totally complimentary one. We have lottery in all our stores. And then, of course, I think we would add a lot more inventory of our smoke shop type products. A typical store of ours would have about $100,000 worth of inventory in a store that size. So those improvements, we would invest about $155,000 on those things. I would say this too, we have a lot of experience in doing this. And so my internal teams, as well as all our subcontractors, we work at night. We don't disrupt the business. We would do it after hours so that, to not inconvenience our customers. Some things I think should happen at Baker City, but I'd like to talk to the current employees there and the current operator and our OLCC rep to see what they think. But I think that hours should be expanded. It seems to me it's limited. Most of our other stores open more. Unless there's something unique about Baker City, I would think they could do that too. Typically, all our stores have beer and wine. That's a consideration. I'd love to add that to Baker City, but I don't know if there's room. So if this lease expires in 2 years. So if OLCC thinks this site should move, we're not opposed to that either. Or if we stay, I think there's some evaluations to do where there's room for beer. There's, parking is not good. There's some issues there. So, that would be something I would like to work out with the OLCC rep and see what would be the best thing to do there. I haven't seen the site at night, and I'm really big on lighting. So I'll need to add lights if it's not, sufficient. Page 4, just a quick look at, this is how we go to market. This is our little brand store, just kind of give you an idea of who we are. These are the kind of shelving and front counters we would add. We have a very, I think, clean kind of industrial, professional look. That's what we envision for Baker City as well. So there'd be some, good changes there. We're strong. We have a strong merchandising and marketing team, and I think they do a really good job. And this is kind of the flavor that we have when we go to market. On page 5 is just a quick look at our liquor store in Weiser, just kind of give you an idea of how we merchandise liquor in our Weiser store, the one we run for the state, or that we contract with the state of Idaho. And on page 6, we also have 4 liquor stores in Phoenix area. So the top is just to show you how we merchandise like mixers and that kind of thing.
1 minute, Ms. Jack.
Okay, and the bottom picture is we had some challenges merchandising 50 mils. They're kind of hard. This is Tempe, Arizona. I don't know if Baker City has that need for that big of a presence in 50 mils, but in case we do, we came up with a good way of doing that. I think it's good for the customer to see what's going on, and it's good for us, easy for us to manage. So lastly, last page, just to say, why should you choose us? We're a highly capitalized company with lots of experience in Oregon. We have high standards. We have excellent accounting and IT and marketing strengths that we could bring to the table for OLCC. And then we're a company that values our employees and provides them with the tools and the training they need to be successful for us. So just picture it. It's the bottom of the page. This is our sign company came up with what it might look like if we were selected. So thank you for your time. I love what I do. I have a strong team and we'd love to be your retailer.
Commissioner?
Here.
Ms. Jackson, what would be your involvement with the store?
So we have 350 employees, a small company. The district manager overseeing the store lives in Hermiston. If we should get the store, she lives in Hermiston, so she would be there multiple times a week. I'm her direct supervisor. So I'm in the stores every quarter. I see every store every quarter. Personally, we do inspections and those kind of things. I'd be very closely involved.
Where do you live?
I live in Boise. Well, actually, Eagle.
And where? I'm sorry.
Eagle, Idaho, Boise.
Oh,
sorry,
Idaho.
Boise.
Okay.
My desk manager was in Hermiston. I said that. She did.
Sure.
Chair, this is Commissioner Doherty. Thank you for your presentation. Very good. You say the reason for leaving Jackson Foods was you turned 50?
Yeah. Maybe a little. That's a decade ago. I'm all grown up now.
Well, good choice. At 75, I tried to convince my wife I've aged out of cleaning the garage, but it's not working.
Good luck.
You say you already have a manager in mind. Is that who is that again?
Well,
or do you? I'm sorry.
No. Well, what we're doing is tentatively. Obviously, we don't know how it comes out today, but if we were chosen, we have a meeting with the entire staff, tentatively scheduled for Sunday night coming up. So to meet with them and to see who's, and according to the current operator, his team wants to go to work for the new operator. So that would be awesome. We want them, but so we haven't hired anything, obviously. So I don't know if I have a story yet, but.
Okay, thank you. And you've got 4 liquor stores you operate now?
We have 4 in Arizona and 1 in Weiser, Idaho. No,
okay.
One in state, more like this experience.
Okay. Thank you. That's all. Very nice presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So for store 1092, we're going to hear from KJ Beverage, represented by Carla Smith.
Great.
Thank you to state your name for the record. Go. So take my name set up.
Good morning.
Morning. We'll give you 7 minutes. I'll give you a 1 minute warning. If we interrupt you for whatever reason, I'll make sure to stop you. Okay. So my name is Carla Smith. I'm here applying for the store in Baker City, 1092. And thank you for the opportunity. I just want everyone to know that we are applying because we are local. We want to keep it local. We want to continue the success that we have had. I have sold real estate for 30 years in Baker. We've lived there all of our lives. We have a general manager that will live in Baker City, born and raised there also.
And we have spent some time in the store learning the processes and just kind of getting the feel of it so that we can understand what we would want to do. Our changes for the store itself, minor at this moment. Definitely some painting, definitely some, I'm a flower girl, so I like all the flowers, the big, bold, welcoming signs, encouraging people to come in. I feel like we can spruce up the parking lot, rearrange some things, make some more parking, make it a little bit more friendly and safe for people to come in and out. For our inside, we really feel our biggest improvement will be to eliminate a lot of these shelves that are on the back that you can see, and obviously the pink walls, they will go. But we'd really like to have coolers where these hard seltzers that are making this big increase currently, we'd like to have the coolers there so that they're cold. People can stop in and get things as they're going out to recreate or whatever, and they're cold. Currently, they're warm, and so we have to do some rearranging to allow for some extra coolers. Let's see. So in the front counter area, we'd really like to do more welcoming arrangements, signage, focus more on the sale items that are available. Of course, I'm a decorator, so I like the holidays and those kind of things. So just more inviting to the people. We have been in the community asking questions and of our bars and restaurants, finding out what they're hopeful, what they're looking for. Most of the requests were upper end alcohols to be brought in so that they can purchase them and sell them in their restaurants and stores, which was a great input for us. And so our thoughts of rearranging for then having more of the utensils that the store or the bars and restaurants can purchase. It just really trying to cater to our local people and the local restaurants, local providers. So obviously the store actually maintain the hours of operation. So we're going to, I'm sorry, will you quick chat? There you go. We're going to keep our hours at this time and evaluate them. Obviously, in the seasons when there is more need or desire or want, we can adjust hours or stay open later or open earlier. So we have the financial abilities, obviously, to do what we have to do. But then I know the long-term thought process is for a bigger building. And so we have already started the processes for funding so that if that real estate appears and we can do that, then we're preparing for that. I know, as was being talked before, the cost of everything has really gone up, and we're building stuff. So we'll see on that. But I do feel there are some rearranging things that we can do at the store for parking and access that will make it a little bit easier to get in and out. Yep. So I think overall, our biggest
task will be to find out what everybody is looking for and try to increase our ability to get that stuff. I know on the few days that we were in there working, we saw how quickly things come and go. And so I think that that's our biggest focus will be to try to provide to the community, and we'll all be there. I will be there working. My husband will be there working. My general manager will be there.
1 minute.
And so I feel like the community, since we've all grown up there and been there, it will be a welcoming place for people to come in and buy their alcohol. Thank you.
Commissioner, questions?
Sure.
Yes.
I have the same question for you. What would be your involvement with the store?
So my anticipate, obviously, to begin with, will be lots more. I will continue to sell real estate, but I anticipate being there 10 to 20 hours to start with. I figure once we get it settled, my general manager will be there, 40 to 60 hours. And in Baker, I'm 2 blocks away. So if I'm needed, I can be there. But yeah, I anticipate 10 hours a week, on a regular basis.
And so I thought also Jim McRae, is that the current general manager?
No.
Or this would be someone else?
This would be something that would be coming with us, yes.
And it's, I guess, is there a general manager there that you would replace? Or
I believe Dee and Lester, the current owners, consider themselves the managers.
So there really isn't.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that oversees all of the employees other than them.
And what is your relationship with Mr. McRae? How do you know him?
Well, we grew up together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we all went to school together. We were all born and raised in Baker, and he's coming back. He moved away, got lots of retail experience, and then his father has passed away and his mom needs help. So he's moving back here, bringing his kids and trying to raise his family here.
Great. So, and I guess one follow-up question.
Sure.
My concern when I'm looking at this is you have a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on, and that's why Jim will be my hands-on guy.
Is Jim part of the business though? When I was looking at your business, is he part of it?
He is not part of the business.
Is there a reason for that?
No. I mean, no specific reason. Just didn't. We just did not make him part of the business.
Sure.
We are purchasing it, and he will run it.
Okay. So, with that, the Baker City Hotel and RV Park, and the other 4 rental properties, and managing partner of J2K Excavating, do you feel like you're going to have 10 hours and be able to kind of devote the energy and time that really needs to be paid to Baker Store?
I do. I have a great manager out at the motel. He's been there 3 years now, and I'm there once a week, and that's all my contribution out there, unless, of course, there's an emergency. For the excavating business, I just get to tell Jeff what to do. So I don't really have to do much there. Payroll. And the rental properties are all rented, and the rent payments come in and they take care of themselves. So yes, I do feel like I can. And I'm ready.
Commissioners?
Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation, Carla. You mentioned relocating the store somewhere. Did you say you picked a spot, and what kind of numbers have you put on what that would cost you to make the move?
I have not picked a spot. Being in real estate, I look all the time. Dee and Lester looked for a few years, and maybe nothing. There's not enough dirt. And so At this moment, no buildings have come available, but it's something that, because that's the business that I see every day, will be something that we will continue to watch.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Ms. Smith, why liquor? Do you have any retail experience in your past?
I do not, other than selling houses.
Why liquor? Why the liquor business?
No reason specific. Very intrigued by it. I have, again, worked with Dean Lester for a long time and listened to them. And with Jim's background and Jim's knowledge of retail, he felt that it was something that he could do and would be very good at it. And so with his experience, we felt that we could make it work.
Okay. Thank you.
Very first. Thank you.
All right, we're on to store 1178 Lake Oswego downtown. We had a pool of 29 applicants for this one, which was due to a retirement. And out of those 29, we narrowed it down to 6 that you're going to hear from today, starting with the entity of Vance Burgard, represented by Angela. Correct me if I pronounce your name right. Is Smulders? Yeah. Okay, so Angela Smulders.
Angela. Really good morning, so small.
7 minutes. 1 minute. Yeah.
Good morning, Ms. Smulders. Okay. Good morning, Ms. Smulders. Good morning. So, same thing, 7 minutes. If we interrupt you for whatever reason, make sure to pause the clock. I'll give you a 1 minute warning. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Reval, Commissioners, Director Prince, and team. Thank you for having us. We're absolutely honored to be here. For the record, my name is Angela Smulders.
And I'm Robin Smulders of Vance Burgard Inc. We're applying for 1178 Lake Oswego downtown. Next slide, please.
Robin and I met doing our business undergrad at the University of Portland. I was appointed to my dad's store officially in 2021, and my father was an agent for 25 years. I'm also certified specialist of spirits, as well as a WSET Level 2 in spirits and wines. I'm an active participant at the Agent Advisory Council sessions here at the OLCC and an elected board member of the Associated Liquor Stores of Oregon.
Currently, I'm a project manager for a software company, but my background is in category management with a focus on assortment optimization, space planning, and product placement. If appointed, I will resign and work full-time running the store. On the right side of the slide, you can see part of our team. Overall, we have 15 employees who are all highly experienced, talented, and absolutely ready to take on the challenge of a new store. Next slide, please.
We currently run a full-service liquor store in Tualatin. We invest in our employees by offering trainings, paid time off, and dental and health for full-timers. And we're looking at a matching 529 education fund. We've been responsible for Tualatin for the last 3+ years, including $6.2 million annually in liquor sales. We saw a sales increase of 5% over the previous year, even with the installation of the state's largest liquor store, one freeway exit away. We hit our 5% inventory goal and have outstanding audits with less than a 0.02% discrepancy. Our biggest accomplishment is completing an expansion that seamlessly blended into our existing space. Next slide, please. In 2022, we added about 1,500 square feet to take the Tualatin store to nearly 5,500 square feet. You can see the space we started with on the left and the transformation on the right. We did the majority of the work ourselves, as COVID had backed up the supply chain in both labor and materials. Even so, we finished in less than 4 months and invested $50,000 in this expansion. Next slide, please.
What we would like to do for Lake Oswego and what is feasible are 2 different scenarios. We're open to relocating, but at the moment, no viable spaces fulfill our requirements. Next slide, please.
Having spoken with the property manager, we have been told the landlord is open to a multi-year lease. Therefore, we will improve on the current space we already have. The current store is in a good location with ample parking, great street visibility, and everyone in Lake Oswego already knows where it is. You can see a rendering of how we would change the space by moving the office to the back and updating the store layout. This would increase linear shelf space by 33% and improve the overall flow of the store. Next slide, please. So instead of relocating, we'd focus on expanding the current location, as we feel 3,000 to 5,000 square feet would be ideal. Property management has told us both the north and south spaces will likely become available. Expanding in the north space, as shown here, would at least give us an additional 1,200 square feet. Next slide, please.
Regardless of size, upgrades include installing LED lighting, repainting with matte black, expanding the surveillance system with new cameras and monitors, placing modern category signs, and installing vinyl wood flooring, as well as working with reps to make eye-catching displays, similar to what we've done here at Tualatin. Next slide, please. We'll update Spirit's shelving to sleek black and keep gondolas at 48 inches high to improve sightlines and discourage shoplifting, as well as install more visible exterior signage. Next slide, please. With the signing of a multi-year lease and a large enough expansion space, we'd install a walk-in cooler and upgrade the humidors as permitting allows. Next slide, please.
This is our projected investment. Our funding is already secured. Next slide, please.
A few changes we'd make to operations include adding 14 hours per week to the opening times, including Sundays, implementing a uniform for a professional appearance, and reviewing responsible sales training, bringing in lottery and expanding related items to create a one-stop shop, and expanding options from local distilleries to support our community. Next slide, please.
A positive consumer experience is extremely important to us, and it's the best line of defense we have against privatization. We would work on bringing a cohesive brand for consistency and credibility, expanding Lake Oswego's digital presence, improving shopper engagement with tasting raffles, trainings and events, and increasing club sales with free same-day delivery and contacting new FCOM licensees. Next slide, please.
In summation, the 5 main reasons we're the right fit for 1178 Lake Oswego downtown include that we are fully invested. Robin would resign from his job, and we both dedicate all of our time to the 2 stores. I wouldn't be trying to run both locations, and we would not be hiring someone else to run a store for us. We also live less than 5 miles away from 1178, and it's less than 8 miles from our Tualatin store. Secondly, we have the experience and the success. We've negotiated a lease, done an expansion, and own a store with comparable shopper demographics. Our sales are consistently growing, and our inventory management is outstanding, as demonstrated by our audits. Third, we have a phenomenal existing team who is eager for and capable of more responsibility and wouldn't miss a beat starting at Lake Oswego. Fourth, we invest in our relationships. We've had impeccable employee management with no staffing issues during COVID, and our customers appreciate how we judiciously and honestly distribute our allocated product. I work diligently to build positive relationships with my district manager, the OLCC team, and other agents. We are active in our community by sponsoring and participating in local events and fundraisers. Finally, we have a good relationship with the outgoing agent Barry that is built on mutual respect. We're ready to hit the ground running on all fronts. We have our vendors, our contractors, our funding, lottery accreditation, manpower, legal and financial teams, and have established contact with the leasing agent, making for a smooth transition. Next slide, please.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us to present today. Are there any questions?
Sure. Or with the lottery, if you have a question, you'd have to get the next space over.
Yeah, our hope is to expand into the northern side. After speaking with the leasing agent, we were told that that property is, the contract is about to expire, or it has already expired too.
So you're not sure it's agency or something, or?
It is a cell phone repair.
Yeah, on the other side is the insurance agent. On the right side, it's like it's the cell phone repair shop.
But lottery doesn't take up too much space.
Yeah, so that's sort of kind of tight as it is. Right. But yeah, good deal.
Yes, sir.
Great presentation.
Great presentation.
Oh, we got one?
Yeah. The parking is kind of tight there. Are you gonna address that at all?
There's actually quite a few parking spaces in the front, around the side, and then the whole back lot is shared with the Thai restaurant. And in the multiple times that we've stopped in to speak with Barry and check out the store, there's always been ample parking, even on Friday evenings and Saturdays. Quite lucky there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Randall Family Enterprises, represented by Bruce Randall.
Thank you.
Yeah, so do. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present Sip City Lake Oswego to the Board of Commissioners. Next slide, please. There are 5 main points. I should back up first. I'm Bruce Randall. I'm currently the agent for 1185 Portland Uptown, which we rebranded to Sip City Spirits, and for 1074 Hillsdale. There are 5 main points to our presentation. We will review each one on the following pages: the local ownership, expansion and remodeling of the interior and exterior, improving the overall store experience, the customer experience being number 1, and our branding and social media strategy. Next slide. Randall Family Enterprises is owned and operated by my wife, Tracy, and I, and we are 40-year residents of Lake Oswego. Next slide. We live in and understand Lake Oswego. Tracy was raised in Lake Oswego, graduating from the high school. We've raised our 3 children in Lake Oswego, and by participating in their schools and sports activities, along with clubs in our church, we know the people and we know the community. We hear the feedback and are committed to providing a modern, fun, and friendly store. Following a 30-year career with Myron Frank and Macy's, we were appointed the agent for Hillsdale 1074 in 2012. We remodeled and expanded the store. I served on the Hillsdale Community Foundation. We grew the sales from 1.5 million at takeover to our current fiscal year of 4.3. With the appointment of Lake Oswego, we will resign our agent designation for 1074 Hillsdale. In 2015, we were appointed the agent for Uptown Liquor on West Burnside. We remodeled the store again, updated all Uptown branding, and grew the assortment. In July 2022, we relocated from the 2,600 square foot store into 8,000 square feet on 22nd West Burnside, and rebranded as Sip City Spirits plus Wine plus Beer, in order to establish a destination brand and modernize from the traditional neighborhood model. Sip City is a full-service beverage destination that redefines the liquor store experience in Oregon. Since appointment in 2015, we have grown this liquor sales from 8.7 million to fiscal year 23 of 15.7 million. Next slide. Sip City Spirits plus Wine plus Beer is a fun, modern, and a bit whimsical store. Next slide, please. This is the current location. Lake Oswego Liquor resides in a structure built in 1953. However, with landlord exterior improvements, interior remodeling, and the potential to capture the adjacent space that was just described, the current location provides the best opportunity for growth. Traffic flow on State Street favors a west side location, and protective lease agreements prohibit relocation into the most desirable locations. Next slide. Let's pause for a moment. This is what's possible with downtown Lake Oswego. An exterior that's modern, fresh, clean, capturing the approximate 1,800 square feet to the north, and giving the customer a modern, fun, and soon to be heard about, bit whimsical experience. Next slide, please. We will significantly upgrade the store interior to present a modern image and to add landlord value. We will update the interior with new black Lozier shelving to better present and highlight the product. We'll replace the flooring with a warm, modern hard surface. We'll introduce category signing that aligns with the Sip City branding portfolio. We'll strengthen the use of color to draw the customer's attention and create smiles, and remodel the cash register area with point of sale consistent with the store branding profile. Next slide. The elevated store experience. The Lake Oswego Liquor will be remodeled, rebranded, and re-energized to exceed the expectations of the Lake Oswego community and their customers. Next slide. Lake Oswego will, as I said, be rebranded to Sip City Spirits plus Wine plus Beer to energize the customer experience by providing a clean, modern, and exceptionally friendly shopping experience. We'll remodel the store featuring Sip City branding elements, improve lighting, flooring, fixture alignment, expand into the adjacent 1,800 square feet, creating a 3,800 square foot store. Expanded assortments to highlight the significant growth categories. Increase the average sale to $25, which is our Sip City average, $5 above state averages. We'll expand the store hours to Monday through Thursday, 10 to 8, Friday to Saturday, 10 to 9, and now open Sundays, 11 to 7. Those additional hours will generate over $500,000 of plus sales. We'll provide exceptionally friendly service to change the reputation of the store. We'll engage the store with the Lake Oswego community through participation in chamber and city sponsored events. These are images of what we've done, which is as important as what we will do. Next slide, please. A unique customer experience. Sip City integrates exceptionally friendly service with enhanced assortments and strong category management. Next slide. We'll focus on associate development and retention, raising the hourly rate to $20. We have 19 employees currently with our 2 stores, and 17 of the 19 have been employed for over a year, and 5 of the 19 have been 5 years or more. We'll introduce the Sip City brand values of customer first, integrity always, accuracy, and accountability to include responsible selling and professional behavior. We'll build on the positive Google reviews that our stores enjoy.
1 minute.
We'll build the assortment to 1,800 SKUs, and simply put, 20% of sales earns 20% of the space. Next slide, please. An energized social branding campaign. Sip City Spirits, the place for good times. Next slide. We'll integrate Lake Oswego into our Sip City website. We will utilize our social media partner to create a Lake Oswego specific Instagram page and integrate that into our Sip City profile. And we'll broaden our search engine optimization contract to include Sip City Lake Oswego. Next slide. Sales and operating forecast rose the sales 34% in 2024 and 44% in 2025 as the remodeled space takes effect. Finally, next slide, please. Since 2012, we have upheld the standards of the OLCC and have served our customers well. It is with much consideration that we will resign Hillsdale. If appointed, Lake Oswego is our home, and we have a plan to serve it well. Thank you for your consideration. Commissioners?
The landlord agreed to let you do those improvements already, or did?
No, this is conceptual. That's all to be negotiated based upon appointment. But same thing, we haven't spoken with the landlord, only the property manager. So who represents the landlord, and he's the one who's communicated the additional space where the cell phone repair store is. It's barely occupied. It's, as you may know, it currently operates on a month-to-month lease, but the landlord's agent has stated that they'll consider a 5-year lease arrangement. And, you know, if you just think back to what it looks like today, this is tremendous landlord value that gets added. And the city, the neighborhood, the property owner would all benefit greatly from this level of professionalism and modernism at what really is the entry to the city on Highway 43.
That's what I was thinking when I drove by it. Doesn't it look better? But I should say that. That'll be next.
I did.
Next.
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
so would you, or are you considering porting your current employees from Hillsdale over to the Lake Oswego store?
Yes, absolutely. There would be a transition period because it's about a 4-month process to resign a store based upon, valuations and so forth. So we would certainly want to keep the staff that's in the store. I don't know them personally, but just through observation, seem competent. It's a well-run store. It's clean. So, to build upon that, but absolutely. But I probably will have to fight them a little bit based upon whoever might get appointed to Hillsdale.
So you would take or invite the employees from the Hillsdale store to the Lake Oswego store, and I'm wondering what the impact would be on the Hillsdale store location.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just alluding to a little bit. That's to be determined. That would be action that would most likely happen at the beginning of 24. But we're very proud of our Hillsdale team, and I would be honored to have each and every one of them come with us.
Thank you.
Yes.
A very impressive presentation deck, Mr. Randall. Very impressive branding. I love the Sip City. I think that's great. Do you have any idea how much this would cost, the facade of the building here?
It's actually pretty simple work. This was our contractor, company named Shelter, who's done a number of restaurant and interior renovations throughout Portland, did all the work at Sip City. There's no change to windows. Really, all we're doing here is that's wood cladding on the front of the building. It's expansion into the adjacent space. It's the construction of a valance, which is probably about 4 feet tall across the top of the building, and the installation of the signing. It's paint. Paint goes a long way. So this is not a very expensive proposition. The interior work is much more so, as we are breaking through walls, permitting, electrical, plumbing, and we spent just over $300,000 to relocate into our Sip City location, 8,000 square feet. So I anticipate, based upon what we spent there, that this is roughly 125 to 150 interior work.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Chair?
Yes.
So you're not granted the adjoining space. Do you have an alternative plan?
It seems I do not have an alternative plan. I wouldn't present that expansion if it didn't seem, from all indications, to be a very likely alternative for us. The space, again, is a cell phone repair. I'm not speaking poorly of cell phone repair businesses, but most people just turn in their phone when it's not working and get a new one. The person who occupies that space rarely is there, according to the property manager, and that seems to be the case through my observation. I'm not sure why they have the space.
Thank you. Wonderful rendering and presentation. Thank you.
Is there an option to go south too, or just north? Because I thought they mentioned that it goes south too.
Yeah, I didn't consider that. That's a 2-story building. It's currently occupied by a State Farm insurance agency. I don't know what his terms of his lease are. There's a dry cleaner immediately to the south of the insurance. He just signed a new 5-year lease. So I felt, for our case, it was the way the windows are, that it most logically worked to move to the north.
Is it? It looks like the same building, but is it the same owner? Or
yes, the same owner. The same owner has the full complex, 644 State Street.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Next up is Robert Bullen, Inc., represented by Robert Bullen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Boland, I don't think you need the spiel. Actually, you're very aware of this process, but I will give you 7 minutes.
Well, you guys keep inviting us back at the end of these things, saying keep trying. So we're here to do it again. Are we ready?
Whenever you are.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Robert Boland. I'll be presenting Lake Oswego. Next slide. A little bit of my retail experience. I spent 30 years with Safeway. Of those years, 5 years as a store director and 10 years as a district manager. As a district manager, I overseen several areas of Portland. Lake Oswego was actually one of those areas. I had 3 stores within the Lake Oswego market. So I'm very familiar with the market and very familiar with the customers there. And then over the last 3 years and about 9 months now, I've been the owner of Hillsboro's Best Beverage, the store store number 1096 out in Hillsboro. And I live in Oregon City still, about 20 minutes away. And with that, I brought my manager, my daughter, my awesome social media expert, and everything. She's going to introduce herself.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ashley Boland. I'm the manager of Store 1096. I wanted to give a brief introduction to myself. I'm the first in my family to graduate from college, and then after college, I interned at OHSU Center for Women's Health. Shortly after my internship, my dad got the store, was awarded Store 1096, where I started helping him part-time, and then we became such a great team. I ended up staying full-time as his manager now. Next slide.
I hooked her in. And then I got my 2 sons also to join the family business. So all 3 of my children work with me every single day. I'm the luckiest guy in the room. Next slide. So in 7 minutes, it's really difficult to give you everything that we've done at our current store, but some things we're proud of. Obviously, the sales lifts that we've enjoyed, the new sign on the front of the building. We've added 27 doors of beer. We've got over 1,200 variety of beers in our 5,000 square foot building. Next slide. We've added new gondola, we've added new wine, we've added a lot of different things to make it a one-stop shop for our customers. So next slide. Thinking about 2 stores, I think there's a lot of benefits to having 2 stores, being able to transfer associates back and forth, to get more hours for associates, to share ideas from one store to the next, to leverage the inventory levels of both stores. Sometimes it's challenging when repacks don't come in, you have the opportunity to fill out of stock at both stores. And then being ready to take over so quickly, I think with the experience my team has, my family, our employees, we're definitely ready to hit the ground running. A little bit of a SWOT analysis on 1178. I won't necessarily go through all of them, but customer service is a big opportunity at this store. The hours of operation right now are currently a big opportunity I see that we can change right away. Some merchandising issues that my team is very experienced with. So those are just a few things right off the bat that we can impact immediately. On the next slide, when you think of Lake Oswego and the vision for the store, I think in my mind, there's 2 options. There's the current vision of the store and then moving the store. The current vision, immediately, if we were to award it, we'd get in there, we'd repair some of the vendor relationships, we'd impact customer service and merchandising right away. And then the social media presence that we would help institute right away with Instagram, Facebook, a website, all those things. On the next slide, in my mind, moving the store is probably the best option. There's a lot of rumors around this property. The property owner actually lives out of the country. We haven't been able to talk to them directly, but there's a lot of rumors saying that this building might be part of a new development in Lake Oswego. On the next slide, so looking at the options in real estate, as earlier we heard there's an overabundance of real estate in Oregon. Well, it's not in Lake Oswego because Lake Oswego is very difficult to find any property, but we did find a few. This first location, poor visibility. It's in a very small strip mall. Really not an option for us. On the next slide, the second one we were super excited about. It's a brand new project right around the corner from the current store. We were in talks with the property developer about our proposal for a liquor store in there. They have a 2,600 square foot retail space. They rejected or have, as of right now, rejected putting a liquor store in their new development. So I'll move on to the third option that's out there right now. And this one is great. It's an awesome complex. It's in the Oswego Town Square. It's 2,400 square foot. The neighboring business only has 3 years left, so there is some room for expansion. And we've talked to that landlord, and we have instituted a letter of intent if we're awarded this building, and it's included in your back of your packet. What we want to do in the building: new exterior and interior signage, new LED lighted gondola,
new humidor, beer cooler, extensive bourbon and specialty liquor, a variety in this store. I think the Lake Oswego customer absolutely will gravitate towards it. And then weekly sampling events. And we could be ready to move by March, by March. On the next slide, just to give you some visuals of what we're envisioning in the new location. Next slide, a layout of everything that we would try to add to this store. Next slide, $164,000 investment from us on the interior fixtures and equipment for this build out. On the next slide, hours of operation, this is what we change it to. Again, I thought that's a big opportunity to drive business immediately and going forward in a new location. On the next slide, securing assets, the camera system, all those things we would put in place that we currently have in our store right now. Engaging in customer service, that's probably the biggest deterrent that we can do, making sure all of the employees in the store understand that. And then being a responsible vendor, we on the 10th had an undercover decoy sting at our store. I'm proud to say Ashley was actually the clerk and she passed, got a big high five from the sheriff on the spot. And that's awesome. So we take this being a responsible vendor absolutely important. I personally train every single employee. I'm at our store 6 days a week. I would be at this store. My current store is in good hands with Ashley and my two sons also.
1 minute.
And then the next slide, just this is what our customers say about us. We run a great family business. We're well loved by our community. We're a part of our community. We're a sponsor for the local chambers cocktail events that they have every year. And so we're just part of it. And then lastly, like I opened with, you guys told us continue to try. We continue to try to get this, and we appreciate your time. This means a lot to me, my family, and our company business. So thank you.
25 seconds left.
Oh,
Forget
oh. we practiced.
Commissioners? Yes.
You're set on moving it?
Unless the landlord comes back and does any kind of a long-term lease. Right now, it's month to month. I really don't see that as a long-term play. I wouldn't want to devote $150,000, $200,000 into a building that potentially is going to go towards a new development someday.
Yeah. Is in this one, the one you're looking at is up by New Seasons?
Correct.
Because I was looking, was there a liquor store there at one point upside Mount Park Liquor? That was there one where you don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, there's not one there now. The other Lake Oswego liquor store is about 2.2, 2.5 miles away. So.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Commissioners?
Great presentation.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Hama's Liquor Store represented by Troy Hama.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Homa,
Yes.
got 7 minutes for you.
All right.
You're warning at the 1 minute mark.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Troy Honma. I am applying for the Lake Oswego Liquor Store, as you guys know. And a little bit of an introduction. I lived in Oregon my whole life. I grew up in Cedar Mill, Oregon, which is a local area. Well, I live right now around 5 miles away from the liquor store. And I have 3 stepkids that graduated from Lake Ridge High School. So really familiar with the area. A little bit about my background. I've had 44 years of retail experience. 41 with Safeway Albertsons. And 14 of those years, I was actually a store manager. I was promoted after that, and I've been in a center store off position, which is in charge of like grocery, GM, and alcohol for around 24 stores. And my main responsibility is train and coach those individuals to make it into becoming a better store management team. During that tenure of the last 41 years, I also owned a sports memorabilia business that, like I say, we were pretty successful over the last 10 years. And I'm pretty proud of that. Community service, probably one of my, big call outs on community service was, raising money for the community, being part of the community. And see Safeway, I get partnered up with prostate cancer, breast cancer, Easter Seals, and MBA. And I was proud to say our team had the attitude that it was our responsibility to help others that weren't as fortunate as us. And probably one of the proudest parts, even though we ran really successful stores, that was something I was really proud of our team. Next screen, please. All right, customer centric. This is one where, if you don't take care of your customers, you're not going to be around very long. So implementing a customer service program where we're greeting them, thanking them for every time they come in. We, by example, myself, I'm going to be at the store. If I got down to 50 hours, that'd probably be good, but it's probably going to be long hours, which I'm totally okay with. It's part of my makeup. Getting to know the customers, listening to them, hearing what they're talking about, looking on social media, taking care of their needs and their wants, I think are majorly important. And then spending time with vendors on there, continue to learn from vendors, learn from anybody that can give us information on what is going to be the best trend going forward. Protecting the business. I know it's important. I feel privileged to have the opportunity to take an inventory that you guys pay for and I sell, but it's added responsibility on my part, and I have to take that serious. And how you do that, number one, is customer service. You are greeting people, you're taking care of them. You're going to be able to deter a lot of people from actually stealing from you. Upgrade the security system. I think it's a must on there with an alarm system. And I have some background with some individuals that can help me do that for law enforcement. And then training employees. I think responsible vending is one thing I learned with Safeway. It is important that you spend time and you put the efforts into responsibly training employees on how to sell alcohol responsibly, and then taking a personal account for every employee in the store and every customer that comes in that you're doing the right thing. I think creating a great team atmosphere is very important. If you have happy employees, they're not going to steal from you. So I think that's really important going forward. And then implementing a shrink strategy as far as everything from receiving products and everything going out the door. Make sure you have that. Next slide, please. As you see where the down location is, we all know where it is. Next slide, please. And then future on there. So right now, I have a property management team too. If I'm actually looking for property, I think eventually we're going to have to move it. I wanted to stay in the downtown location. I think they deserve to have liquor down in that area. So going forward, what we're going to do right now is upgrade this current facility because we're not able to get a long-term lease. We think we might have to move it, and nothing's open right now. So these changes are no disrespect from the current owner, Barry, but it's something that I want to envision, show my vision going forward. Next slide, please. Hour of operation is a big one. A lot of you, they've talked about that. As you see, increased hours in the store will be a big benefit. Next slide, please. All right, the front of the store right now, currently, we see it on the right-hand side, the left-hand side, doing a little paint, fixing some neon, getting a sign on top of the building can do wonders for it. So I think that'll be an easy move. Next slide, please. The existing floor right now, if you look at it, the shelves are diagonal in this location right now. There's plenty of storage room back on the right-hand side, and then behind the customer service counter, storage. So we'll go back to the next one on there on the proposed. Next slide, please. As you see, something I'm proposing is taking that customer service counter that's on the very top side there, moving that against the wall. That'll create additional space going forward. We'll move the cigar cases right in front of the top storage area with the ice machines. And then the right-hand side, there is a storage wall with all that additional space. We'll move that wall back 6 to 7 feet on there, which will in turn give us an opportunity to increase our refrigerated beer and wine section, the spirits going forward on that. Thank you. Adding a different shelving in the store by restructuring this way will give us around 52 linear feet more than we currently have, which will be able to add the lottery, we'll be able to add the produce items, the ciders, ATM, and all that. If you Thank you. Next slide. If you look on there, the middle part of it, you can see where the actual special gondolas are for seasonal merchandising. And one thing that you're going to see, go next slide, please. The lighting in this building right here, we need to go to LD lighting on here, plus add additional stuff, which will be probably a black shelving and taking the floors and making the floors totally more of a modern look on there. Next slide. Next slide, please. Keep on going. And then next slide. There's the estimated cost. I got a great advisory team. And next one. And this right here, Lake Oswego. I think it's important to be part of the Lake Oswego community and part of the Rotary Club, which I think is a great, outstanding organization. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Yeah.
Great presentation. One great presentation after another today.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Sorry. Are you, if you're awarded this, are you going to still be friends with Robert Bullen?
You know, the funny part about it is we've been friends for a long time. He was my boss. So, you know, I do everything to just be a little bit just like him. Yeah. He's great. He got it. I wouldn't be disappointed at all.
Oh. Thank you. Nice presentation. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, David Wolf.
Thank you. 113. But
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wolf, 7 minutes.
All right.
Little spiel.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I'm David Wolf for the record, going for Lake Oswego downtown. Thank you for having me again. Next slide, please. As said, my name's David Wolf. My current experience, I'm currently a liquor store owner trainee over at Cedar Mill with Randy. I've been doing that for about a year. I have an online retail e-commerce business called Subi Bros. I also work at the Nike headquarters. For the last 8 years, I've been a branding developer focused on brand marketing, compliance, and regulation. Notably, I grew my online business from 0 to 800K in 6 years. Next slide, please. My time at Cedar Mill Liquor, at the back of your packet, you'll see a store owner internship guide. Randy beat me out for the Sunset store last year, and we've since become friends. So he taught me everything there is to know about running the business. On the right is an example of a special project I did for him, helping customers to more easily sort through finding the shooters they want. I made these graphical menus. Next slide, please. If I'm chosen, I'll quit Nike, and this will be my full-time deal. My online business is currently a side gig. It'll stay that way. I have 2 part-time employees that help with that. Next slide, please. What's important to me is, first and foremost, the safety of our employees and the community. So I'll work relentlessly to sell safely and responsibly, offer excellent customer service, and increase sales and profits for the store, which in turn increases revenue for the state. Next slide, please. The current store hours are on the left, my proposed hours on the right. Having that additional day and Sunday is an increase of 11 hours or 20% more time open. Next slide, please. For employees, I know Deborah's headed to 205 with Barry. Heather, that I spoke with there, wants to stay on staff. I will keep her on staff. I'll start by being there every day full time. My fiance, Callan, will help fill in as necessary and immediately start looking for new employees. Next slide, please. For security, we'll start by reviewing the operations manual, hold quarterly meetings to review the process and procedures to sell responsibly, increase customer engagement, and then also improve the store for better visibility. You'll see that in a moment, as well as update any equipment necessary. Next slide, please. The strategic priorities will be restoring trust and reputation in the community, store refresh, increasing sales, and long-term move to a larger location. Next slide, please. So as many of you may know, the online ratings for the store are pretty low. So effective immediately, I'll go and comment on every single one of those negative reviews addressing the issue, inviting this customer to come back into the store and give us another try. I want to get involved in the community. An idea I had with that is bringing in local artist work to display on the wall for sale and rotate that out throughout the year. I really want to provide outstanding customer service. After all, repetition is reputation. Next slide. Establish digital presence with a website and social media. This will be a primary outlet to communicate with customers, show new products, recipes, store hours, updates, etc. Next slide, please. Keep the store movement. Next slide. Keep it. Why? Excellent positioning along 43, which is the busiest road in all of Lake Oswego. There's ample parking on the sides and back of the store, easy access coming from both directions, high potential visibility, and enough square footage to support significant growth over current levels. Next slide. For the outside, when you drive by, you can hardly tell that the store is there. Next slide. I'll start by doing a large exterior sign that can be seen from north and south ways, adding cedar cladding to the side to separate the store from the adjacent buildings, and add an under new ownership banner. Next slide. I'll add branded vinyl to the windows and a super bright open sign so it's obvious. Next slide. Repair the current vintage signs. Next slide. The interiors where the real opportunity is. Right now it's a little bit cluttered. The layout is not quite efficient and there's poor visibility. Next slide. I'll start by replacing that ceiling lighting with organized modern LED pendant and track lighting. Paint the ceilings, walls, add new black shelving, new POS equipment, and matching beer coolers. Next slide. The current layout's on the left, my proposed layout's on the right. Next slide. This is how I would merchandise the store. And with this plan, it creates a 69% increase in linear shelf space for liquor specifically, not beer and wine. A 50% increase in the rear stock rooms for storage space, which will obviously support future business. Next slide. This is a digital rendering of how my layout would look. Next slide. Here's the first look you would get coming into the store versus how it looks now. Next slide, please. This is from the cashier's standpoint. You'll notice there's clear visibility across the entire store. This is great for security as you can see customers at all times and they can see you. It also makes it so that customers can more easily navigate the store, browse product, and find what they're looking for. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, this is the point of view from the rear storage space. Having that storage in the middle would allow a lot more growth. Next slide. Here's a breakdown of exactly where I would get the improvements or who would do them. Next slide, please. So for the opportunity, I did some analysis. The 3 closest stores on average have significantly higher sales than Lake Oswego currently does. Next slide. In addition to that, over the last 2 years, Clackamas County on average has had a 5% decline, while this store has had a 33% decline. Next slide. So to me, that says huge opportunity. I believe 4 million in consumer sales after 3 years is absolutely doable. That would be a 66% increase over current levels. This is enabled through the store refresh, customer engagement, strategic product merchandising, and the extended store hours. Speaking of product merchandising, next slide, please. Right now for Randy, I do almost all the store ordering. So I would do a full inventory analysis on this store over the last year, removing the low turnover product, bringing in new exciting product, expanding the products that sell well, and bringing in more elevated products of the most popular brands. Next slide, please. I'd connect with current licensees, make sure that transition is seamless and it does not interrupt their business at all. I would continue to explore ways that we can grow both their business and our business together. Next slide, please. So ultimately, I either need to expand this location or find a bigger location, but I believe that there is at least 2 to 3 years of substantial growth as is, but within the next 2 to 5 years, I start browsing for a new location. Next slide, please. In the following pages of your packet is a detailed breakdown of specifically what I would do month by month. And other than that, I really hope to see you all at Lake Oswego Liquor.
Thank you. You find time to sleep?
Sometimes.
Good.
see if you really do read this stuff.
I got a quick question.
Yes.
You're kind of forecasting over the next 3 years a 66% increase in sales.
Yes.
Elaborate exactly how you're going to do this.
Well, so the first step is getting the store set up is my proposed, having that expanded linear shelving space. So I think it's a combo. Let me back up. It's a combination of the customer service, having the right product and enough product on the shelves, and having the store layout in a way that makes customers want to come to your store and shop. So a big part of that growth driving is the increase in customer service, as well as the product merchandising that's going to be enabled through that layout change, having that 69% increase in available retail spacing. The analysis I did of the 3 closest stores tells me that people in the area have a larger appetite for purchasing alcohol than this store is currently supporting. So if we can bring that support level up, I believe that people will start shopping there more. And this store only 2 years ago, I believe, maybe it was 3 years ago, was around 3.1 million in sales. So definitely based on the rate that it's declining, there is a market for that, but the store needs to support that demand.
Do you know what the licensee business?
Yeah, it's about 400,000 right now, which part of the reason I didn't expand on that greatly is because that is very average for the surrounding stores. And so in my opinion, maintaining that licensee business is great. But as you know, downtown Lake Oswego doesn't have a ton of expansion available for more, restaurants. So I believe that on its current level, maintaining that is the correct.
And I think that, I think that 4 million in 3 years, seeing that 66% increase, I think that's pretty aggressive. I'm here for it. I love it.
Thank you.
I think you're going to have to gain on that licensee business in order to really ascertain that.
Okay.
But I mean, that's just great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Chair.
Doherty.
Yes. Are you going to maintain 3 jobs then? Are you still going to? Go over that with me again. You had Nike and SubiPro and the Cedar Mill store.
Oh yeah. So I like I mentioned, Randy beat me out for the Sunset store, and so he's mentoring me, and I've been an employee of his. So that'll be over. I'll quit Nike. This will become my full-time job. And Bros, I've been running the whole time I've been at Nike and doing the store owner internship. It only requires an hour or 2 of my time a day because I have the 2 employees that work there. So it's a very small commitment.
Great. Thank you. Nice presentation too. Thank you very much.
It actually answered my question about, my question was, is liquor store owner trainee,
yes,
is that something that the OLCC has implemented and you're taking part in this, or this is more of like you created this?
I created it. So, Randy, so I congratulated him on Sunset when I didn't get it. And we had coffee and started to become friends. And he said, I would love to help you learn how to run the business hands-on and do all the tasks. And so over the last, it's been about 14 months now, Randy's just kind of taken me under his wing and shown me how to do the business. So,
and in doing that, you are still interested in
and it makes me even more excited, honestly. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have stopped working for Randy and I wouldn't be here. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Wrapping up Lake Oswego, we have Thomas Thurgis.
Hello. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Burgess, you're familiar with the process. 7 minutes?
Couple times.
Okay, yeah, just a couple.
Slide.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present for our proposal for the liquor store vacancy at Lake Oswego Downtown, 1178. I'm presenting the proposal for both filling the vacancy and possibly moving the store to a larger and more visible location. Slide. A little bit about myself. I'm a husband, father of 4 daughters, 23 years of beverage experience and marketing experience. 2.5 years ago, when COVID-19 hit our state, my wife and I decided to make some career goal changes. I wanted to stop working for a large corporation and build my own business. I was courted by Mr. Robert Babin back there, who is the agent of State Line Liquor Store, 1201. He made me the general manager, and I've learned every aspect of running a liquor store. I was given unfettered access to all operations and control of the state's largest walk-in liquor store. And this is my wife and my family boss. Slide.
Actually, we can go back to the previous slide. My name is Alexander Burgess. I go by Alex. And hello, everyone. I'm looking to dedicate and contribute my leadership, operations, and customer service experience to guide and support my husband on this journey. My goal is to learn every aspect and policy of the OLCC handbook and spend as much time as the store is needed. In my current role, I do not only support manage operations, I also cover shifts in our emergency room departments, day or overnight, including holidays, 60 to 70 hours a week. If given this opportunity, it would be an easy transition for me and would allow me to contribute my talents and ensure continuous success of Lake Oswego Store, while providing an excellent and safe experience to its community members and this opportunity to be a lifelong dream for our family. Slide, please.
Lake Oswego's residents want to keep their city boutique. Highly educated and upper-class families live in Lake Oswego. This requires a highly educated and professional staff of employees to service these customers. The previous owner, Barry, had over 23 years of relationships with these customers. It will be hard for anybody to measure up to. He was the first minority from outside the United States to become an agent in Oregon. And he worked hard to build his business to where the store is today. I see and appreciate what Barry has accomplished. I just want to put my own touches on the store and hopefully run it for 25 years. Slide. I ran diver numbers based on total different SKUs depleted all sizes by category. Lake Oswego business has been struggling for mostly between the other 2 closest stores, Lake Grove and Westland, over the last 2 years. It is clear that the lack of SKUs have hurt the growth of Lake Oswego. I would start with the biggest and fastest categories: vodka, cocktails, tequilas. Customers want selection. Right now, Lake Oswego operates at 1,384 SKUs. That's individual SKU bottles. Lake Grove has 2,215 SKUs. West Lynn has over 2,000. So there's a huge discrepancy in SKUs. Slide.
Current store needs to be modernized. Flooring, lighting, and shelves need to be updated. Slide, please. Front counter needs to be pushed back 6 to 8 feet, and office needs to be moved to the back room. Slide, please. Front counter, lattice, and signage needs to be updated. Hold, please. These are the shelves and signage we have planned. So, slide, please. Clean and updated, organized, and appealing to all customers. Slide.
The current store is adequate size of 1,993 square feet. After we take over operations September 1st, I would immediately change the lighting, flooring, add new security cameras, and purge the store of all clutter. Additionally, we can improve the space efficiently of the back room stock area, allowing for more significant increase in shoppable front area. I would take the vodka wall back another 6 feet. I would make room for additional gondola racking, retail area, and increase the selection of distilled spirits available for consumers. We will meet with the current staff and start immediately training on customer service and systems to make the store more efficient. We will also set up a meeting with the city to discuss signage codes and grants for exterior
awnings. Slide.
Another immediate change would be to expand the hours of operations by opening on Sundays. I'm confident that our family can improve the convenience and community by being open on Sundays. Slide, please.
Store 1178 represents a great growth opportunity and therefore a good value for my 60 to 80 hours in-store work week. The Lake Oswego area has a higher income and affluent demographic than most of the state. My sales projections are conservative with the understanding that it will take at least 30 months to coordinate moving the store if needed. If the city continues to grow and revitalize that waterfront area. However, these changes I will make to the current location will drive and improve sales. Slide. Plan B, looking at the possibility of moving the store when the current lease runs out in 2.5 years. Slide. The possible floor plan moved. I propose that if we move the store to First Street and A Street, there's a location currently there that could become available through talking with Barry when the current lease runs out in 2.5 years. This location provides easy foot traffic for downtown residents and for those with that active boutique-y city that Lake Oswego is. Slide.
Number one goal of our family is to be accountable and vigilant about ID verification and monitoring store for possible theft. ID anyone looking under the age of 30 years old, controlled access is our number one priority for operating this store.
Slide. I gave up a 6-figure liquor salary to learn the insides and outs of the operations of the liquor store. I picked the largest walk-in consumer store in the state to show the OLCC that I could do this. I have the experience of handling every aspect of the business with 0.0013 inventory control to making sure every state deposit and paperwork shows up timely and accurately. I've proven my ability to recruit and train a diverse staff of 80% women, 20% men. This is the goal my family has set for 2.5 years ago, and I feel 1178 is perfect for me and my family. You are getting 2 for 1 with this deal. Slide. Barry Karami was generous enough to give us a letter of recommendation for this after discussing with him. Slide. This is basically our budget. We believe in being fiscally responsible, and we've set up a good plan to make success out of this business. I want to thank you for all your time, and if you have any questions, please.
Commissioner.
If you get Barry or the Simply Fox, you approach them, or have you spoken to them?
I haven't currently approached them. Like I said, I've talked with Barry. I know he has 2.5 more years on his lease. 2 stores down at the dry cleaner, they just signed a 5.5-year lease on their property. My main concern would be to invest in the location that it's at. I want to spend my money wisely. It is my money. I'm not taking on any loans for this. But I do believe where it is currently located is a fantastic facility. It just needs to be updated. It needs to be modernized. Kind of that fresh, modern feeling that everybody in this group has talked about. You have a great set of candidates here for this, and so
yeah, I would. Either would be good. Because this one I didn't even realize it was off the market because it's been like a while. That would be. It's nice that this one's downtown too.
Yes.
Yours first.
Great presentation.
Great presentation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to wrap up with store 1203 Detroit. This is a temporary to permanent appointment. Entity is Sammy and Shane LLC, represented by Aileen Chung. And Ms. Chung has been operating as a temporary agent since mid-2022 and was the only applicant for the permanent position. And I think she's at presentation. She's over with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, you said she was the only applicant for this location?
Correct.
Okay. Right. Ms. Chung, we will give you 7 minutes. At that 1 minute mark, I'll give you a warning. And if we interrupt you for whatever reason, I'll make sure that pause.
Hi. Okay. Hi, my name is Ailan Tong and Mountain High Grocery owners. And this is my first time presentation in my life. And I didn't even know presentation means. And after I got the note and I find out the presentation means. And my English is not really perfect to understanding and explain. So sometimes maybe frontward, backward is not organized, please understand. And then Mountain High Grocery, I just bought around 2 years ago. And before that, I owned a liberal country store in Rhino 3 years and Dallas Street Market for 20 years. And that store we owned for 20 years, downstairs stores and upstairs apartment. So we lived there and all my kids growing up there and born there. And then now they growing up and help me. We work all together for Mountain High Groceries. And now I just got this Mountain High Grocery. Before that, we owned only for beer and wines. I didn't know any about the hard liquors. Now, just 2 years, I just keep learning for the hard liquors. And kind of hard to me learn all the names. I don't even know all the liquor names still learning, but I'm getting there. I'm getting better. And even some liquors I don't even know, and customer coming to request, can you order this one for me? I just search the name and then find out and order for them, trying to. And we are located in Detroit Lakes, in Oregon. It's small towns, only for less than 200 people in population, and half of them is second house in the Detroit. So it's really, really small towns. But the summertime is really, really busy, and winter time is really, really slow. So start May, picking up the business, and then June, July, August, and cover up all years the incomes. And I try to be order for more stuff on summer times because all different people is coming to traveling to stay on the lakes. So more different customer on winter time, no, summer times, and winter time is only for town people, not many. So I try to order more variety stuffs in the summer times. And my liquor location, we are a grocery store. The liquor is next to the one side. So it's behind cash register side, a little bit liquor side in there. So we have cameras in there. And then our small bottle is located behind the cashiers. So we can reach for the customers, and customer get into the only for other side, connect to the cashier so we can see all the times. And our camera is everywhere. So always safety. And then last liquor is glass bottles. It's easy to break it out. So when we start, I always mention to other people, trying to be careful, don't break it, always slow down or come down and stocking it. And our employees or our family, five of my family, and plus I have 7 employees right now. And I training them every time to check IDs, really, really careful, because not like a lot of the town people keep coming. We see every day who's because summertime traveling people, we don't know who's who. So we always check ID for who underlooks 21, not 30s. And then our liquor, because it's grocery stores, we have 2 different systems. The liquor is go to the different credit card machine, and our store goes to the different card machine. So we try, sometimes we make a mistake or purchase for the liquors and my stuff, grocery stores, but we try to be really, really careful. And then all the cash is I just depositing it for the liquor bank, in the bank for just for liquor account. And futures, I just own store for just not even 2 years yet. So I'm still keep learning in this and that. But we'll be getting better for futures. And I like to order more stuff or whatever people like to be getting summertime and then who customer request. And that is it, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, after 9 years, I don't know the liquors either.
Oh, okay. It's really hard to me. I'm not born in here, and my English is not perfect to understand all the names. I'm really learning hard to all the names. Now I know last name now, but still learning. I'm trying. I like to learn new things.
We appreciate you very much. Commissioner.
Yeah, I love your spirit, and I love your spirit of willingness to learn. I think your English is very good. I understood everything that you said. Thank you.
Chair?
Yes.
So let me get some clarity here. So this is, you currently own a grocery store. You've had it for 3 years now, correct?
2 years, yeah.
A little over 2 years. Yeah. And we're thinking about putting this, attaching the liquor store into the grocery store, correct?
Yes, inside the grocery store, another small size, small parties for liquor stores, hard liquors. So it's connect together. It's connecting, but one store, but is another part is just for liquors. Yep. And the people have another door, get through the liquor part, and they grab whatever things and give to cashier, and cashier can help them. And all small liquor bottles behind our cashiers. So they just grab whatever they're asking for, we just grab for the customers.
Okay. Perfect. That's, I just wanted to clarify that.
So does this mean we have liquor stores and grocery stores?
I guess we do.
Just,
I own the grocery store over 23 years, and first time I go to this store, oh, they have liquors. When I tried to buy this store, I didn't know they have hard liquors. And oh, there's liquor store, and then there is so many rules. I didn't even know. I'm still keep learning, but it is new.
Thank you.
Commissioner, could I have a motion?
Oh, yes.
Do you want a motion on the Detroit store?
Yeah, sure do.
I just want to check if there an entity that is under name.
Sammy and Shane LLC, correct?
Yeah.
I can give it if you'd like.
Yeah, Sammy and Shane LLC is business names for under we own some kind of different property, but I use the same name go to when I buy these stores. So it's just, the name is already been 20 years, but it's just this business just 2 years for under Sammy and Shane LLC.
Well, it works.
Thank you.
Chair, I move to appoint Sammy and Shane LLC as the permanent agent and store 1203 Detroit, effective September 1st, 2023.
Laura?
Commissioner Curran?
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner DuPont Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Molinas?
Yes.
Chair Raval?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just see everybody have more better things, and I just see myself, oh my God, I didn't know this many stuff, and I didn't know so many commissioners in front of me, and lots of people behind me. Oh, it's the first time for me, so good experience. Thank you. Thanks.
You were delightful. Thank you.
Chair.
We're going to.
You're going to read both of those.
We're going to move to executive session. First off, I'm going to ask if there's any media present. Okay, so the commission will now go into executive session to consider records that are exempt from public inspection pursuant to RRS 192.660 F. We're also going to executive session to deliberate on the agent selection pursuant to the authority of the RRS 192.6602A. We will return after we've made our decisions and had our discussions to make our recommendations known. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. 9 years ago, when individuals would come to us during presentation to get into your business, we used to get basically crayon drawings. And we had to look long and hard. That's not the case now. You're very professional. We appreciate all that you're doing. And whatever happens, we'll get back into expansion and other stores. The first time we did expansion, we did 17 new stores. You brought your ideas and your hopes, and we did 17 at one time. We hadn't done 17 in 10 years prior to that. So whatever happens, please don't forget us, because we need you in order for the state to succeed. Commissioner Doherty.
All right.
Do you have a motion for me?
Let me find that. Thought Matt was doing this. Sorry. I'm sorry. Is this on the
This is
Lake Oswego store?
Yes.
I can't hear you. Hold on.
I said hello, and he was. I can do that. Like right now. If you want.
Okay, hold on, Matt. Go ahead.
Okay. I moved to appoint Randall Family Enterprises as the permanent agent at store 1178 Lake Oswego, effective September 1st, 2023.
Commissioner Curran? Yes. Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Japan-Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Molitas?
Yes.
Chair Reval?
Yes. Okay, next.
David can just roll.
Yeah, thank you, Baker.
We're going to have Commissioner Corrin do it.
I move to appoint Jackson Bevco as the permanent agent at store 1092 Baker City, effective September 1st, 2023. Commissioner Curran? Yes. Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Japan-Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Molitas?
Yes.
Chair Reval?
Yes. Well, please keep us in mind. We're not done yet. Thank you. We will now have a recess for the commissioners. We're back in session from our recess.
Chair?
Yes.
In the matter of Execo Development Group, AFE Ramsey Hatar, managing member, Shadi Hatar, member, doing business as River Bank Saloon, move that we issue a final order adopting the proposed final order for ALJ Joe Allen's erroneous legal analysis pertaining to the use of hearsay in contested case orders. Commissioner Curran? Yes. Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Japan-Porter? Commissioner Molitas?
Abstain.
Chair Reval?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fine. I didn't hear. Yeah, because she's not on there. So that's 5 with 1 ups. Oh, she's no longer.
She's shit.
Giving us a sir. Yeah, sure, it's fine. I just
We have
not a quorum.
We got a quorum, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a quorum.
We're gonna. Yes, majority. It's the majority of existing positions, so there's 7 of you. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1. You only 4, not 5, sorry. You need 4.
But then it said yes. So we go.
We got 4. We're good. Yeah.
So I was having a terrible math issue. It's fine.
It's my nap time. Come on. Late.
So now we're going to move forward, and we have stipulated settlement cases, and we have a new presenter, I understand.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Kelsey Snella. I'm a case presenter with the Administrative Hearings Division. Today I have for your consideration 4 alcohol stipulated settlement agreements, 1 marijuana stipulated settlement agreement, and 3 license stipulated settlement agreements.
We're going to take these separately. So we'll start with the stipulated settlement agreements. How's that?
Okay.
Yes.
I move to ratify the 4 alcohol stipulated settlement agreements as proposed by staff.
Laura?
Commissioner Kern? Yes. Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Melidas?
Yes.
Chair Raval?
Yes. Marijuana. Stipulated settlement. Blackbird Crow, forgive me. Do I have a motion?
Chair?
Yes.
I move to ratify the stipulated settlement agreement for Blackbird Crow as proposed by staff.
Laura?
Commissioner Kern? Yes. Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Melidas?
Yes.
Chair Raval?
Yes. And finally, licensing stipulated settlement agreements. Okay.
Chair?
Yes.
I move to ratify the 3 licensing stipulated settlement agreements as proposed by staff.
Laura?
Commissioner Kern? Yes. Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Melidas?
Yes.
Chair Raval?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Director, do we have anything for good in order?
I think that's it.
We are adjourned.